Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. Excuse the bright lights in the background. I'm on a backup computer tonight. But welcome to an episode of Word Balloon Lockdown Trivia. We are waiting for Fred Van Lente to join us. So right now, if you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to address them. I wanted to start as well with something that came up yesterday amongst all the people, the comic book creators that have recently come to light, that are were bad actors and caused a lot of women in particular, and some men in some cases, some harassment, harm, and stress, and discomfort, and abuse, frankly. And one of those people, it's been made public, Scott Alley, the former editor-in-chief of Dark Horse Comics. He was one of the accused, and rightfully so. He's had several instances of abuse. And Mike Oming mentioned that he had abused and manipulated me. And he said that on Twitter, and some people saw that. And I felt an obligation to explain. I would not in any way equate what happened to me with the people that were physically attacked, abused, insulted by the Scott's actions, and traumatized by it. None of that happened to me. And so I figure I'll explain what happened to me and Scott Alley. You might know that a couple of years ago, Dark Horse released a book called No Plan B, The Art of Michael A. Von Oming. Scott approached me as the book was in progress and said, "Hey, we're putting this book together about Mike. Mike and I talked, and we thought it would be great for you to interview Mike for the book. And, ask him questions about the various comics and things that he's done in his life and his career." And I said, well, that would be great, because eventually I plan to write a couple transcription books of my Word Balloon interviews, and this would be kind of a great dress rehearsal. And I said, the only thing I would ask is, and they paid me for it, and it was fine for what the assignment was. And I said, I just want to make sure that I'm acknowledged as the writer of the book. And he's like, okay. Now, we had nothing in writing. The book came out. They sent me the final, already at the printer's version, and I looked. And man, I'll tell you, if you ever see the cover, first of all, my credit is eye chart small, even with my glasses. And the way it was on this black background, you'd have it a very difficult way, and it said in very teeny tiny itty bitty letters, "Interview by John Suntress." Okay. He misspelled my last name. A lot of people do that. It's a common mistake. I think for a book, and you're the editor, you might want to ask before you do it, am I spelling your name right? And also the weird thing is inside the book, interview by John Suntress, Suntress was spelled correctly. Okay, that's fine. But I have a great friend in the library circles, a true PhD in library sciences. My dear buddy Gary Price, longtime friend. We've been friends for, good Lord, I admit it, 41 years. 41 years, not quite 50, but 41 years, since freshman year in high school. Great friend. Lives in D.C., in the D.C. area. And he was all excited for me. And this was, ironically, Memorial Day weekend, Friday of Memorial Day weekend. He's like, is the book out? And I said, yeah. And he goes, oh, wow. Now, he has resources to look up the book that libraries use and publishers use. And he looked up the book, and he's like, you're not listed as the writer. I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, okay. I go, who is listed as the writer? He's like, Mike Oming. And I'm like, well, I'm interviewing him, and it's presented in first person, but I'm confused. And he goes, there are two other credits on the book. The foreword written by Brian Bendis, makes sense. Best friends with Mike. The afterword by David Mack. Another best friend, makes sense. Well, there's Brian's wrote a page. David wrote a page. I wrote a lot of pages, and it really pissed me off. And I'm like, what happened? He's like, I don't know. So this is the Friday of Memorial Day weekend, or a Saturday, actually. So yeah, it was, not a business day. So I'm beside myself, but collect myself on Tuesday. I'm like, what's with the credits on the book? So I called Scott. What do you mean? Your name's on the cover. Well, yeah, misspelled, by the way. Oh, sorry. Okay. And again, I'm paraphrasing. Forgive me. I didn't take a full account. But he goes, yeah, what's the problem? I go, well, my buddy who works in libraries, library circles, he tried to use some databases to find the book, and I'm not listed as the author. Well, you're not the author. I'm like, well, I wrote the book, man. I wrote the interview. Yeah, I am. I'm like, you ever hear of the autobiography of Malcolm X? It's the credit is as told to Alex Haley, the guy who wrote Roots. You might know that name from Roots. And it's like, like normal books when someone is telling their story, but I'm not a ghostwriter. I guess I'm on the cover, but I'm like, why aren't I credited? He's like, hey, all you wanted was your name on the book. And I'm like, no, that's what you might have heard, but I figured that you understood when I said I want to be credited as the writer of the book, that I would want to be credited as the writer of the book. I'm getting angry. You can tell from my voice. And I was really angry. And he's like, well, and I'm like, I think that's common. Guy whose career has been in publishing and would understand something as simple as that. Hey, man, I was in sports for 20 plus years and read a lot of sports biographies where sports writer would work with athlete or coach and got credited for co-writing the book. Not the sole writer. They were Mike's thoughts. He sent those thoughts to me. I've got the audio of these interviews. And Mike has always been incredibly kind, acknowledging me as the co-writer of the book. All I was looking for was my first book credit. Denied. So I told Scott that I was really pissed. It hurt our friendship, and I never trusted him again. This was 4 years ago, and here we are. So I'm really sorry for the people that he physically abused and mentally abused. All he did was piss me off. Fuck him. There, it's on video now. So anyway, I just felt the need to explain that. And also, again, in no way do I equate that with the sexual harassment that women have come forward to. I believe these women, and I understand. And there was a time that Scott said I black out when I have my alcoholic issues, and I've recognized that. I am now in a recovery program, and I hope you'll forgive me for my bad behavior. This was about other harassment encounters he had in the past. Okay, I understand. Sorry, guys, I don't mean to hit you with heavy stuff and everything, but like I said, Twitter is my biggest platform. It came out on Twitter, and I just wanted to differentiate what happened and explain my problem with Scott, and that it was very different, and again, in no way equal to the harassment that these women have found. So that's very funny. Hashem Zubi. Now I want to see a book from you in the Studs Terkel style. That's kind of what I was going for. And man, I appreciate the reference to Studs for two reasons. One, truly an interview idol of mine. I've listened to Studs Terkel's interviews ever since I was a kid. And I actually got to meet him on several occasions, interview him. You might know I did a Dempsey versus Tunney boxing audio documentary. I got to interview Studs for that. I got to go to his house. This is great. Now I can transition into a happy story. He was living on the lakefront of Chicago, beautiful neighborhood, gated community and stuff. And I went to his house. He still had an office at the Chicago History Museum, previously known as the Chicago Historical Society, which I always thought was much cooler, kind of like the Justice Society. But yes, the Chicago radio guys, that's absolutely true. Thank you, Hashem. And I hope I'm saying your name right. And Mark, it's my pleasure to talk about this as far as to differentiate the harassment. Like I said, I kind of felt it was necessary to kind of clear the record, make everything straight. Anyway, so I'm like, hey, Studs, I can come to your office and ask you about Dempsey and Tunney. And he's like, come to my house. That'd be easier. I'm like, that would be great. And he was in his 80s at the time. Man lived to his 90s. Unbelievable guy. What a Chicago icon of radio and print, and just a brilliant man. He wrote the book Working, his oral history. That's where one of his first oral histories. And he's since Will the Circle Be Unbroken, a great book about the freedom train, the civil rights freedom train and everything, and the interviews he did there. Decades, 40 years of interviews on radio, on public radio here in Chicago on WFMT. In fact, if you look online, there is a collection of Studs audio interviews that Chicago Public Radio has been digitizing for like the last several years. And it's amazing, just amazing. So, Dan Wickline, thank you, man. Yeah, you're like, hey, you did the work. You should get the credit. That's screwed up. Dan, you're a writer, and I appreciate you seeing that and acknowledging that. Thank you. So I go to Studs' house to interview him about Jack Dempsey and Gene Tunney, the great heavyweight fight that happened in Soldier Field back in 1927. And so that was cool, and I go to the house. His son answers the door. His son, who's in his 60s, is living with his father. And great. Bachelor house, fantastic. I walk in, miles of books on the walls. And I walk by this model giant like luxury ship. And I go, oh, that's interesting. I go, do you guys build models? And Studs laughed. He goes, oh, no, that's supposed to be the Titanic. He goes, I was born the year that the Titanic sank. He goes, Kurt Vonnegut. He gave me that as a birthday present one year. Kurt Vonnegut. I mean, I am in the midst of literary excellence right now. I couldn't believe it. Had a beautiful hour with Studs. He gave me, what do they call it? Cranberry and vodka, So we're sipping cocktails. Well, I was 14 when I listened to the Jack Dempsey Gene Tunney fight. And actually, I got to meet Dempsey's manager, Doc Kearns, in the 50s. Fantastic. It was so much fun. My God. And it was just amazing. So that was my Studs Terkel life, one of my encounters with Studs. He came to the Score, our sports station, when he had a book called The Spectator, which transcribed all of his entertainment interviews. And man, what a genius! I've really led a Forrest Gump life. I mean, you guys know from my nerd interviews I've done at Word Balloon for the last 15 years. But for about 10 years, or 16 years prior to that. Some of it was concurrent with Word Balloon. I started in Chicago radio in 1990, where I started as a contributor to a sports show, and I was writing for Boxing Illustrated at the time. So that's when I started doing interviews with great Chicago celebrities like Chet Kopic. He was the host, I was the reporter, and we would talk about boxers and stuff. And it's true, Mario, I am. He said, you really are Forrest Gump. Yeah, I'm not kidding. So really between that and, my 16 years in sports radio, and then doing 15 years of Word Balloon. Started Word Balloon in 2005, was in sports radio through 2006. And then I've been behind the scenes making commercials from 2006 till 2016, 10 years doing that. And then 3 years doing radio traffic at the CBS Chicago radio station up until this past April. So yeah, I've been very lucky, man. Honestly, the people that I've met, the people I've worked with, great Chicago radio legends. Unless you're from Chicago, these names may not mean anything to you, but from Chet Kopic to Dave Baum to Studs to Mike North and all the guys at The Score, the Chicago sports radio station, several guys who were hosts at ESPN 1000 and television people from Walter Jacobson to Mark Giangreco and others, and had the opportunity to broadcast with them. Some amazing music people, my 10 years concurrent with The Score at WXRT, where I got to meet Ray Davies of the Kinks and John Hyatt and Elvis Costello and Brian Ferry of Roxy Music. And I mean, really, it's been an incredible experience. And that's why I'm looking forward to eventually transcribing some of these great interviews and doing more with Word Balloon. I'm looking for Fred, and I don't see him. Oh, Gary Price is watching. Hey, Gary. How are you, buddy? I hope you're watching and enjoying. So right now it's just me. While we're waiting for Fred, because I told him, I think I told him 7:15 Chicago time, 8:15 our time. Oh, we said 8:15 your time. Ah, okay. That's fine. Hey, you know something? If you want, I'm going to tell Fred that's fine. I am happy to talk to you for an hour. I've been meaning to do a Word Balloon Town Hall meeting. So, hello, Phil. Hello, Mike. My dear friend Mike Ressler joining the crew. Anybody have any, you want to talk about what's been going on, some of the rumors that have been happening in comics? Michael Keaton Batman, I'm for it. I think all of us are as well. I just asked myself a question, Don Lenza. I will. How about the Barney Rubble laugh there? Oh, hiya, Fred. I'll have to save that for when Van Lente shows up in 45 minutes. But I'm all for Michael Keaton coming back to the Bat universe and being an older Bruce Wayne. Potentially, I could see him putting the suit on. As crazy as that sounds, he is a very fit late 60s gentleman. If Indiana Jones and Sean Connery in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen can give us a roundhouse punch, I think Keaton could be in a bat suit. And also the bat suit would allow a double to move like Batman, but why not? I mean, I think it would be fantastic. So I'm all for it. Do I have faith in Zack Snyder? Good question, Mario. That's interesting. I bat 500 with Zack Snyder. I'm a Watchmen fan of the movie. I think Watchmen was a decent movie and obviously a very faithful adaptation of the comic. Some people think deliberately in a bad way. I don't. I think and especially I think it ages well because it almost feels like it is kind of a remnant of the 90s depictions of heroes. And so it's almost like it is an alternate history, as we know. So that'll be interesting. And I'm very curious to see the Snyder cut. We'll see what happens with that. Dan Wickline, I like the Keaton casting, but if they're doing Flashpoint, could he possibly play Thomas Wayne instead of Bruce? That is a distinct possibility if they're doing Flashpoint, purely Flashpoint. I'm of both minds of that, but I'd kind of like him to be Bruce Wayne. So as people are suggesting that he might take the role of a Samuel L. Jackson character that would continue to be in other DC Universe movies, I kind of like him as an older Bruce Wayne. And from an alternate universe. Again, they've set up this possibility, thankfully, through the television show in Crisis of Infinite Earths. God, wasn't it great seeing Brandon Routh again as Superman? I think, again, it's what I always say about James Bond. There's no such thing as a bad James Bond. There are bad James Bond movies, but as far as the actors go, top to bottom, and yeah, you can maybe put Lazenby at the bottom as far as actors, but I think they all play the role quite well. And for a first movie especially, I think Lazenby was a fine James Bond. And so with that in mind, like I said, Brandon Routh, so-so movie as far as Superman Returns, wasn't the movie we were hoping for, but had a lot of good things in it. Man, I thought Brandon Routh was an excellent Clark Kent. And I'll tell you, the scene where he saves the plane, the shuttle, that our dear friend Gabe Hardman suggested to Bryan Singer and mapped out, and Bryan Singer's like, let's put it in the movie. That's the best scene in the movie. And when Superman is being public Superman in those moments, I think Brandon Routh flew. Just amazing. So, Jesus. And so I think he legitimized himself in the Crisis crossover as an older Superman. I thought he was fantastic. And again, I think that opened the door for people to understand the concept of alternate universe, and certainly, also Avengers Endgame as well. So Michael Cooper regarding On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Diana Rigg, though, fantastic Bond girl. Tracy, my God. And then isn't it great, going back to the Bond franchise, that in For Your Eyes Only, it opens with Roger Moore at Tracy's grave, kind of saying that this is just one continuous story. Because there are many schools of thought that with the different actors, though they never said, is James Bond a code name? And other agents keep assuming it. And in fact, you can even make that argument with as Daniel Craig started the whole thing and everything. So, I love that, and I loved, I love that scene from For Your Eyes Only. Back to the DC crossover and the potential of Michael Keaton, Dan Wickline. If they're doing a multiverse, then it makes sense that they squeezed Ezra Miller into the Crisis crossover on the CW. Well, I kind of think that maybe that, and the combination of putting Ezra in the TV crossover opened the door for that possibility. And I think it re-energizes the idea of Ezra doing a Flash movie and stuff. So, there you go. I'm all for it. Mario, oh, by the way, as a follow-up to the Brian Hill interview with, Cousins with William Peterson still holds up. Great Schumacher flick. Yeah, I agree. And, like I said, literally, Bill Peterson, got to know him in the 90s. He was a big sports fan, would come to the Score while he was in Chicago guy, and got to know him at several meals, several dinners and stuff. And he was all excited that CBS wanted him to do a TV series. And we're like, he goes, I didn't want to do TV for a really long time. And William Peterson was telling us this. And while he was making Cousins, if you guys haven't listened to or seen the Brian Hill interview I did, pardon my burping as I'm doing it silently. He asked Ted Danson, his co-star in Cousins. Bill Peterson was kind of the bad guy. He was married to Isabella Rossellini, and Isabella Rossellini and Ted Danson were cousins through marriage and kind of got to know each other, and a little romance was starting to happen. And Bill Peterson was cheating on Isabella Rossellini and everything. But Bill was talking to Ted Danson, and he's like, so, why do you do this TV stuff? You're better than that. And Ted's like, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, I understand, obviously Cheers is a big success, but like, why haven't you left and just like pursued movies? You're so good. And Ted's like, TV is like the greatest actor's gig in the world, especially if you get to be a co-producer, because then you're making serious money. And he goes, but it's great, man. Are you kidding me? He goes, he goes, it's a Monday through Thursday gig. I'm done by 8:00 at night, so I still have the evening if I want to go out and see people and stuff. And he goes, I get enough weeks off in between seasons and hiatuses that I can make movies on the side. So I got the best of both worlds. And Bill's like, I didn't know that. Okay, fine. Then CBS came to him with CSI. He wanted to do Have Gun Will Travel. I've told this story before, but for your purposes tonight, he wanted to do Have Gun Will Travel and remake it, the old 60s television show and 50s television show. Great Western, classic Western. And CBS at the time was they were doing Magnificent Seven. This is 20 years ago, literally. And they're like, our ratings are just so. We don't know if we want to try any more Westerns right now. And they came to him with the idea of forensic medicine. And it was great. We had Bill on the Score, and he's describing CSI to us when it's still, before it aired, before it debuted. And we're like, okay, well, it sounds cool. And he goes, all right, so it's like forensic medicine, but immediately he's like, it's not Quincy, okay? And by the way, there's nothing wrong with Quincy, but I understand what he meant because, Jack Klugman, casts a long shadow. It's not Oscar Madison checking out dead bodies, I promise you. And we're like, all right. And we're like, what's it going to be called? And he goes, well, they want to call it Crime Scene Investigators, but really they want to call it CSI. He goes, I am fighting for them to call it The Criminalist. the criminalist. And we're like, all right. And we're like, well, tell us more. And he goes, well, my character's name is Gil Grissom. And of course, we're astronaut fans. We're like Gus Grissom. He goes, well, yeah. But, he goes, hopefully he'll have his own thing. So the Score, the sports radio station I worked at, we were owned by CBS. And CBS at the time was very intent on promoting the fall lineup and the TV shows on all the CBS owned properties. So on radio, we had to talk not only did we want to talk to certain people, but we had to talk to certain people. Like we had to put on each week the first season of Survivor. The guy who got kicked off the island that week. We hated it. I got to be honest, because especially we're a sports station. Well, but it's a reality show, so it's kind of a game. So it's kind of like sports. No, it's not. But we're like, all right, fine. I guess we're gonna have to talk to Survivor people. But some of it was cool, and a lot of I got to talk to Ray Romano. When Everybody Loves Raymond was brand new on our morning show, and he was great. I talk like Ray Romano, and he's like, oh, I want to do what you guys do. In fact, my character's a sports writer, so it's kind of like what you guys do. Couldn't have been sweeter. Nice guy, funny as hell. Bryant Gumbel was on because he had joined CBS from doing decades of the Today Show, and before he went full time with HBO and Real Sports, he was doing the morning show at CBS. And that was fun, really fun conversation with Bryant Gumbel. But so Bill, already having this established, Bill, because we're tight, but that's what we called him. We call him Bill Peterson. He was coming on the Score to promote CSI. And he did two shows when two of our shows coming on the sports station when CSI was still brand new. And then all of a sudden, he called us off the air and he's like, hey man, I don't have to do it anymore. The network says we're a hit. And he goes, no offense, but honestly, I got to sneak to my trailer and talk to you guys in between takes. It makes the production day that much longer. So no offense, but it might be a while before we talk because I'm going to be busy with this show. And we're like, Bill, that's awesome, man. Go. So obviously fortune and fame continued for Bill Peterson and CSI. And because he was a producer from the start, all the CSI to this day spinoffs, he gets a cut as a producer, and it really kind of set him up really nice. And that's why you don't see Bill acting anymore. He is comfortably enjoying his retirement and living off the land and off the CSI cash. And God bless him, man. He's terrific. And I have not talked to Bill Peterson in 15 years. I had a conversation with him. This was 2000. I had one conversation with him in 2005. And I did get to tell him, and I'm like, dude, I'm so happy for you. Because he's such a good dude, and he's a huge movie buff. And we would always talk old movies, and it was great. And I kind of had a guy crush on him. I won't deny it, because he is. He's a pretty man. And it was just like, I can't believe I'm friends with William Peterson. And he'd be like, and they all called me Shaky on the Score. You could tell from the way I gesticulate all the time when I talk. And every time I'd see him, he's like, Shake, what movies have you seen lately? And I'd be like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't remember right now. I'm too busy admiring you. So anyway, but he's a great guy, and I miss Bill, and I hope eventually maybe to get him on Word Balloon. I'd have to ask one of the other Score hosts who keep in more direct contact with him to get in touch with him. I should do that. I really should do that, especially while sports are in lockdown and my buddies are twiddling their thumbs trying to figure out what to talk about the next day. Man, I do not envy those guys. That was our February and July. It's interesting as we enter July because, July, of course, this year it's going to be different. But, July's that kind of slow period of baseball, especially after the All-Star break where it's too early to start talking about the playoffs. And, two mid-seasons, so there's that kind of ennui when it comes to, big word for baseball, describing your feelings about baseball. But you know what I mean? In spring training or football preseason always starts too early for me. I'm always like, hey, it's summer. I don't want to. If I were the Lord God of sports, I would not start football until October, including college, and I would end it at the end of February. And that way, it would very comfortably be like, all right, next week it's spring season and there's no break in between sports. But I really do think that college sports starts college football and pro football as well. And I'd be like, it's a fall and winter sport. Let's keep it that way. So those are my feelings. Oh, Wickline, look at this. Yeah, February, July in sports, December in comics and entertainment. Yeah, that's fair. That's although you got the Christmas movies though, Dan. So that's true. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with the NBA, Mario. I really don't. And I mean, as some of my friends who are watching right now, if they are still watching, like Gary and Mike, know that I'm really not the biggest sports fan per se. I mean, I like sports enough, but boxing was my big sport, and I do love baseball. But man, I'll tell you, covering it consistently day to day for 16 years, I'm like, all right, that's enough of sports. And just I can't deny, guys and women that might be watching, I really got tired of the greed of the owners. When the concept of personal seat licenses began in the 90s, and you had to spend money for the right to try to get season tickets, I'm like, oh, fuck you. Like, you don't make enough money. And I remember when they built the new Yankee Stadium, they had a big story on Real Sports about it and how ridiculously expensive it was. And even professionals who make big money are like, I'm not spending six figures just for, prime Yankee box seats. It's not going to happen. And yeah, they can all, I mean, and truly they're doing that really to almost get rid of the average fan and let those things be bought by corporate, people that can't afford it. CBS, we had a luxury box at the United Center for hockey and basketball. And we were very spoiled, although very smartly, that luxury box was reserved for salespeople to take high-priced clients and be like, hey, you want to see Michael Jordan and Scotty and Rodman and everybody in action? Hey, why don't you come on up to the luxury box? And we got to go to a few games, but not that many, and certainly not when the Bulls were hot. So that was very interesting. I was appreciative of being in a company that had that kind of clout, and certainly being press, to have the ability to go to games and sit in the press box. I got spoiled for 16 years, man. I got the best seat in the house, and that includes boxing, where I was literally ringside for a lot of great fights, and it was amazing. I don't regret it, but by the same token, I've really been spoiled. And every now and then, when a friend will be like, "Hey, you want to see the Cubs?" and I'm like, I don't know. Even when they're good. Ryan Brown, the great comic book artist and writer, massive sports fan. The year that the Cubs won the series, he's like, "Are you watching?" And I'm like, yeah, "Not really." And he's like, "John, they might actually win this year." He goes, "In fact, they're the favorites, and they probably are going to win. Don't miss it. My God, you've been waiting for this all your life, literally." And I'm like, yeah, he's right. Okay, fine. So literally, like right before the playoffs, I started watching because of Ryan. Although I might have waited until maybe the pennant or the series to actually start watching. So it's kind of weird. So what do you got here, Aisham? Let's see. The constant renaming of sports venues by the latest sponsor has become annoying. Yeah, but something? They pay the bills for the stadium. I mean, tell me about it. God, in Chicago, White Sox, what was Comiskey Park, it's now Guaranteed Rate Field. So I don't know. Oh, here's a different topic from John Hedgenberger. Cop shows equal dead trend. Please equals please. So I'm assuming maybe you're against that. I'm okay with the reality cop shows going away, because I think all it did was glorify bad behavior on both sides. I really do. I think it was multiracial. I think there were as many white people that looked ridiculous on cops as people of color, and it bothered me, and it really did kind of, I think, reinforce a lot of our worst, points as a society and stuff. Look how stupid we are. So I'm not sorry to see those go. I do think it's an overreaction to ask for dramas to go away. I just do. I that's my own opinion. Maybe it's because I'm older. I don't know. I still believe, because I've had members of my family that have been part of the police, that they don't all look for trouble, and they're not all jerks. I do think that it's a good idea to reorganize priorities of the police and possibly shift some of what they do to other things. And also, I mean, God, it just seems like, other than North America, this gun culture of ours, all the other countries, Australia, Great Britain and stuff, the cops use weapons as a last resort. I don't know. It's above my pay grade, and I won't presume to have answers for these very difficult questions. But my sympathies certainly lie with the demonstrators and certainly the people of color who have been getting screwed for centuries now. And it's wrong. It's just wrong. And it's true that the actual history of the police was to protect the interests of business people, going back to the colonial days. And yeah, it's not a pretty picture. Public service should always be tantamount. And when the public itself is not being serviced, but is afraid of the very people that are supposed to protect us, obviously that's a problem. That's a big goddamn problem. So I hope that this will only lead to good solutions. Wickline, the problem is cop shows work extremely well from a storytelling standpoint from a weekly series. Sure. I understand. And again, I think there are a lot of good dramas that are police procedurals throughout the decades, going back to radio. Dragnet. Dragnet in the 60s really became this kind of fever dream of Jack Webb's. Let me tell you what's wrong with America right now. I'm Joe Friday. But back in the 50s, in its original incarnation, it was a very interesting show. It's one of the greatest radio shows ever, especially the very late 40s years. Dana Gould, the comedian, and I talked about how great Dragnet was as a radio show. And I'll tell you, man, Jack Webb, again, weirdo conservative dude. And not at all, because I have friends that are conservatives. It's okay, man, to be a true conservative, not a Trump conservative. Fuck that guy. But anyway, Jack Webb's a fascinating storyteller throughout his career. Some amazing detective shows. If you like noir, and you might, because you might watch things like Scene Missing, the show that I do occasionally with Will Pfeiffer and Hilary Barta and Gabe Hardman and Karina Becco, and Andy Parks is another guy that comes on and talks old movies with me all the time. Jack Webb is amazing and a very fascinating filmmaker and television maker. He made Emergency and he made Adam 12. Very interesting guy. But yeah, late 60s Dragnet is now almost a comedy, and really was let's get the crew cut back. These long hairs are taking over the world. And man, the way they portray hippies and Blue Boy, if you want your quintessential hilarious, if you've never watched Dragnet, watch Blue Boy. That is a fantastic show. So Van Lente's going to join us in about 20 minutes or so. So that will be cool when that happens. Just wanted to let you know what's going on. If you're looking for trivia and going, why is John rambling? This is the reason why. So I'm I got to tell you, I've been really enjoying doing Word Balloon like this on video, and I'm very happy to continue doing this. So thanks a lot for watching these, and I appreciate it. But Freddie's coming up at about 8:15 to do more trivia. Yes, there we go. For those keeping scores, Fox, Scott, Alley, and 45. All right, thank you. Yes, actually 55 if you're talking about me, but that's okay. What else is going on, everybody? You know what I really liked this week? The 100-page spectacular with Green Lantern. I think it was fantastic. And I'm going to answer this question right now from Leighton Wagner. Is the best business contact your email? Yes, and in fact, that's why you see it right now under my name, john@wordballoon.com. That's my email. So if you ever need to contact me, that's the best way to do it. And I'm there for you, whether you like shows or not, or you want to suggest something to me. If you're an aspiring creator and would like to see if you can be on Word Balloon, I read everything that is sent to me as far as comics and stuff. I am happy to check out your books. I usually ask for a PDF and things like that. So there you go. You have all right. Michael has an interview request. All right, fair to know. Oh, I see. There you go. Yes, Trump 45 is president. And Kyle, what up? So, Michael, are you going to send me a suggestion for an interview, or are you requesting that you be interviewed? I'm confused. Anyway, as I was saying, Green Lantern was unbelievable, I think, this week. The 100-page spectacular that looked at all the different lanterns. And it's an interesting choice if this is, I guess if you were reading between the lines, it almost seems like maybe Alan Scott, you might remember Earth 2, which was kind of a reboot of the Justice Society that James Robinson did. And Alan Scott, that version of Alan Scott was gay. I won't deny that initially I wasn't a fan of that, because and honestly, it's like, wait a minute, why are you taking an established character and suddenly making him gay? And I won't deny I'm a massive Alan Scott fan, and I'm like, why not create a new great gay character? I mean, it's Green Lantern. There's tons of. I mean, it's the Green Lantern Corps, for God's sake. Create a new character. That's cool. I think that's fine. But it seems like in this 100-page spectacular, if you read between the lines, perhaps they were going to turn Alan Scott gay back then, and then it looks like they're doing it again now. Sorry, I lost my train of thought as I'm seeing chat starting to pop up. And forgive me, but sometimes you think about something more and your opinion changes. And I'm okay with Alan Scott being gay, although I wonder what that means for Jade and Obsidian. If you really want to go there, wouldn't it be interesting if Alan Scott were either bisexual or, as some gay people have done, married and had a straight marriage, a cis marriage? Forgive me if that's an inappropriate term. And maybe things didn't work out with the wife, and Alan Scott realized, actually, I am gay. I've got a very good friend that got married and had a child, and very late in his life discovered, hey, you know something, I'm gay, and that's the way he lives his life now. I think that would be ballsy and even more legitimate if you want to do that with Alan Scott and maintain him as a gay gentleman, and the fact that he actually did have two children. I think that would, even because Jade and Obsidian, as I remember, or at least Obsidian was abandoned. I don't really remember the full Infinity Incorporated story of Obsidian and Jade. But I do know that it was kind of like, I know in the case of Obsidian, he was a neglected son, not neglected in a bad way, but just that Alan either didn't know about him or whatever. But yeah, so that's an interesting door to go through, but like, let's see you take it all the way through, in a very different way. That was my thing with, making Michael Burnham part of, and don't worry, I'm not going to go on a big tangent about Star Trek Discovery, although I'm tempted, with making Michael Burnham Spock's sister. It's like, okay, where's Sybok in that whole dynamic? And you want to prove to me that you really want to make all this fit? Fine, let's see a flashback of young Sybok, Spock, and Michael Burnham together. Let's see you make Sybok matter if Michael Burnham needs to be part of the Spock family, the Sarek family. So now I'm going to go through some comments here. Let's see. I have not watched the Harley Quinn finale yet. I will. It just dropped today. But I will, and I promise you, Pat Schumacher is coming back to talk about the season 2 in general. We did an early episode of that. So, Michael Cooper, whatever happened to Barry Windsor Smith? Interesting dude, great artist, but essentially disappeared. Maria, I believe her. Oh gosh, I don't want to get her name wrong. Maria, damn, I can't remember her last name. I apologize, guys. This great documentarian from the East Coast made a great documentary about Jeffrey Jones, who transgendered and became Catherine Jeffrey Jones. He was part of the studio with Barry Windsor Smith, Mike Kaluta, Swamp Thing. Come on, John. Man, I hate when my brain shuts off and I forget names and stuff like that. Everyone can chime in right now with, oh God, am I going to beat you guys to it? Hopefully. The great artist that passed away, that was the co-creator of Swamp Thing. Damn it, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's there. Better Things is the name of the documentary. And while I'm trying to remember Len Wein and come on. Well, anyway, Better Things is this great documentary that this woman Maria made about Jeffrey Jones. And Barry is in the documentary. Bernie Wrightson. Thank you, Mario. That's right. Bernie Wrightson. God bless you, son. I appreciate it. No, not John Titlebaum, Bernie Wrightson. Anyway, back to Barry Windsor Smith. I know she interviewed him for the Jeffrey Jones documentary. It's an incredible documentary. It's called Better Things. It was made by distributed by Kino Lorber, the great video company. So she, in addition to filming about Jeffrey, she also got Kaluta And Bernie had passed away by the time she made her documentary, I believe. I don't remember. I haven't seen it in a couple years. And but she got Barry and she got Kaluta to talk about Jeffrey and a few other great comic book people. And I know that she would like to do a full-fledged Barry Windsor Smith documentary. But yeah, he has kind of retreated. I don't know. I should try and track him down and see if he would be interested in talking. You know who I really want to get on the show? And I've mentioned this, Carrie Bates, the fantastic DC writer of the 70s and 80s. So important in The Flash, great Superman writer, great Justice League writer, great Captain Animator when they got the rights to all the characters, the Charlton characters and stuff. And I would love to sit down and talk to Carrie Bates. Yes, Michael Cooper, R.I.P. Bernie. Bernie and I got to meet him. My dear friend, Jesus, my dear friend whose name I cannot recall right now, Tim Bradstreet. Tim Bradstreet and I went to college at the same time. We weren't at the same college, but we Illinois State and Illinois Wesleyan were literally down the street from each other, like 5 minutes away. So we went to the same comic stores. And so we knew each other in college. And then we're both professionals. He becomes a great artist. I become a so-so radio broadcaster. And I remember just the two of us at Wizard Chicago one year, just like, is this weird? And it's like, yeah, but like we're doing what we want to do, because I was at the college radio station and he was like already drawing and drawing for a great role-playing game company that was in Normal, Illinois, where Illinois State was. So we were already kind of started to do what we wanted to do. And here we were at the big time and stuff. He had already established himself as a cover artist and an interior artist. And I was doing radio here in Chicago. And he introduced me to Bernie in San Diego. And Bernie had done for Thomas Jane, the great actor, of course, The Punisher and The Expanse, among others. His great show on HBO, Hung, hilarious. Bad Planet was this great comic book that Tom was writing, and he got all these great artists to do work for it. And I think through Bernie's friendship with Tim, Bernie did one of these covers, and Tim was just, set up with his booth at San Diego, and that's where I met Bernie. And he's like, oh, Bernie, you got to do John's show. John's podcast is hilarious. And Bernie was a sweetheart. We talked for like an hour and stuff, and he's like, oh, if Tim says I should do your show, I guess I should. We were supposed to be together at Cincy Comic-Con. Tony Moore's and Kara Moore's great show that they did, which was a great show. I missed that convention. It was a fantastic convention. And they invited Bernie, and that's when Bernie was starting to get sick and wasn't able to attend, and it never got better, unfortunately. And I've had many conversations with people like Steve Niles, who knew Bernie quite well, and Tim and stuff. And yeah, he was terrific. And yeah, we all miss him. Dan Wickline, I met Bernie at a barbecue at Steve Niles. There we go. Got to speak to him for hours. He was amazing. We remained friendly until his passing. Such an amazing, wonderful person. I hear you, man. Here's my buddy Jeff Quarter. Normal and ISU memories of Dreamth. New Marvels are coming in. So Dreamth. Literally, that's how it's spelled. And we're like, shouldn't it be like dreamt? Like past tense dream? No, it's Dreamth. Lloyd was his name, the owner of Dreamth. And interesting guy. And he had a very interesting accent, New Marvels. What's coming up next Wednesday, Lloyd? We got New Marvels coming and stuff. When I was in college, Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen were coming out, and it really got me back into comics hardcore. Even when I couldn't afford them, being a college student and stuff, they were so good. And I remember Lloyd had a black and white Xerox of the first issue of Watchmen that was there for people to kind of check out and get excited about ordering. And oh man, I'll tell you, very, very exciting. So Michael Cooper, I met Liz and Bernie a few years back. Wonderful, genuine people. I believe it, dude. I totally believe it. Yeah, Bernie was a sweetheart, man. Yes, Jeff, I'm telling my my Lloyd stories. And I don't remember the details, but Bradstreet still lived in, Normal for years after college. And I know when I first got back in touch with him, I'm like, is Dreamth still there? He's like, oh, no. He goes, but I still see Lloyd every now and then. He goes, I remember he said one night I saw him passed out in his pickup truck in like the lot of a shopping mall. I'm like, all right, I guess. So it's amazing. And now I feel like Rip Van Winkle when I go back down to Illinois State, because it really has like gentrified and modernized in so many ways than the 35 years ago when I was there. So it's pretty amazing, and it's hilarious. So I see Freddie Van Lente waiting, and we'll take these last couple calls, and we'll get started in trivia in a second. But Mario asks, what about getting Frank Miller on? Tom King could pull a few strings. That's a fair question. Or DC's been very cooperative in getting me people. So maybe DC will help me get Frank. I'm not sure. And then Rick, have I watched any of the new season of The Twilight Zone? I haven't yet. I'm certainly hoping that it's better than the first season. But while I'm pondering that, let's let Fred Van Lente join us and share in this question just now. Good to see you, Fred.
Hey, how you doing, John?
Good, buddy. I apologize that my times got mixed up and everything.
That's all right. We should, in the emails, we were talking your time and my time. We should have been military with our time zone designation. So Central and Eastern were properly synced up. What happened was I was so here in New York City, we have gloriously begun phase 2 of unlockdowning. So I was literally at a bar across town when I looked at my phone and realized that you had gone live, and I was like, So I emailed you, and the wife and I marched back here to Shea Van Lente, where I am currently broadcasting from.
I understand. My best to Crystal. I was seriously. I'm like, I hope I get to talk to Crystal before we go live and stuff. So my best, Crystal.
Yeah, I'll call her up later.
All right. She's got better things to do than to waste her time.
Well,
it's all good. Let's be honest.
She's elsewhere in the house. I have not seen the new Twilight Zone. Any of it.
There you go, man. And so you didn't even see the first season either?
I didn't. I don't have CBS All Access, although I will say when I was in Europe in November, where on Netflix you could get Star Trek Discovery, and I thought the first season of that was terrific. One of my favorite Star Treks. I thought that whole thing from start to end was really terrific.
Wow.
The cast.
Discovery. The first season? Which season of Discovery?
Yeah, and then I started the second season, but then I came back from Austria, and I don't have CBS Access, so that ended rather quickly.
Okay. I don't know if you know, I am not a fan of Star Trek Discovery. I was very disappointed.
Maybe after the quiz we can talk.
It would be my pleasure. That'd be fine. But yes, Fred is here for Lockdown Trivia. Fred, I've told you before, and I mean it, and I had every intention of saying it tonight. Your efforts in doing Lockdown Trivia with me are greatly appreciated. I know the viewers love it as well.
And I appreciate the outlet. As I told you, I've been doing pub trivia for 4 years until the lockdown started, and my buddies all kind of fled to various parts of New York State, so we were doing it on the company that did it here locally in Brooklyn did it on Instagram, and so we're doing that for a while, but that kind of tapered off. So nice. I love having this outlet, and I appreciate your good humor in letting me be quizmaster.
Dude, you go above and beyond when I do this. I literally, I'm going to have a horror trivia night. Oh, nice. Tim Seeley and Mike Mauricio are in, and I'm seeing if Donnie Cates will join us because Donnie's a big horror guy. And I am a horror Luddite, so I will just MC that evening. But as viewers know, and I've told you before,
questions, are you getting them from some other source?
I am. I will admit I purchased
Trivial
Pursuit Horror. So if people want to cheat, go get that version. But yeah, I wanted to do it and then have real horror buffs on that can handle it. I mean, I'm a Universal and Hammer fan, not Hammer.
Me too.
But as far
can I invite myself in on this thing?
If you'd like to be part of it, it'd be great. Next Friday, I'm hoping that's the tentative plan.
I think I could do that. Yeah, keep me in the loop.
All right, because
that's the third, right?
Yes,
I can do that.
Excellent, man. Oh, you're in.
I'm a huge Hammer nut.
Well, this is going to be from the early days of horror, Nosferatu, and the like, all the way through the 2000s. So
interesting.
So yeah, it's not only I know, and that's why I took myself out of the equation because I'm like, If it's after Psycho, I'm not. I'm nothing. I suck.
I assume Tim is the real. I'm going to guess he's the Maven.
Him and Maurice too.
I've been in his apartment, so.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, absolutely. You know what's amazing? He and his wife and now new baby. His baby's name is Valentina, so I always refer to her as the Contessa. And Tim likes it. His wife is like, "What is that?
That is
why does he call it that?"
That is a common mispronunciation of Van Lente I have found in my life. And I was born on Valentine's Day, so I have a wide range of associations with that.
Would you have been a Valentina had you been a girl?
That's a good question of what I would have been if I was a girl. I am named after the first Van Lente in the United States of America. My full name is Frederick Jan Van Lente, which is the first guy to, brave the trip from Amsterdam to Holland, Michigan. Shout out to all the Michigan Knights.
Wow.
Literally, as I'm sure you know, if you got in a boat in Chicago and went east, you would run into Holland, Michigan. That's where my whole family's from.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I didn't know we had this Midwestern background in common.
Yeah, and I grew up in Cleveland, so.
There you go.
I'm Midwestern. My mom is from her parent. So here's how Midwest we are, right? Both my sets of my grandparents from Holland, Michigan. My father was born in Carbondale, Illinois. Most of my family, a lot of his family's in Chicago, and my mom was born in Dayton, Ohio. And I grew up in Cleveland, so.
Man, well, and I know you and Crystal, made a Chicago venture years ago and stuff, and when travel is normal again, 20 years from now,
we were going to do a Chicago family reunion. And now we're not.
I hear you, man. I know. I was talking to my New York friends that are also playwrights and know Crystal quite well by reputation. I don't know if they met. Have Zach and Susan met you guys?
What are the last names?
It's oh god, I always forget Zach's name. They are married. It's Susan Ferrara and Zach. I can't remember Zach's last name.
Susan's name sounds familiar. I will ask. We'll get Crystal up here before the show ends.
Okay, all right.
Interrogator.
But if you want, we can certainly begin our.
Well, I told some people to join us, so we have 2 minutes of stalling.
Oh, okay, sure, man. No problem. Yeah, by all means, fix it.
I'm excited. I have a hair appointment at 4:45 tomorrow afternoon, man.
That's great, man.
We were like, oh no, we're not gonna, Well, everyone's been very good here in New York City about the social distancing.
That's good to hear.
I did at a restaurant outside.
Congrats.
Went to a bar outside. That's where I saw.
So what is the proper protocol? Because obviously, until your food comes, you've got the mask, and then is it okay, obviously, to eat? And then do you pop it back? I mean, what is the protocol?
The specific restaurant and bar we were at, the tables were spaced very far apart, like more than 6 feet. So I did not feel the need to wear the mask. Okay. The Crystal, the wait staff was all masked, and sanitizer everywhere. Everything's very clean. I mean, it was
disposable menus. I've heard, obviously, paper menus.
Yeah, I guess that's true, right? Yeah, that's true. In fact, the bar we were at, they swiped the card and there was no exchange of money or anything like that. So
sure.
But yeah, so the first Friday night that the city opened, we're like.
No, I don't blame you, man. I don't want to, and I'm sure evenings and stuff. Having my own freelance hours these days, I'm going to probably do a lunch or something soon. So I can appreciate that.
I mean, also, it has not rained here in New York City for a month, and it's very warm, and nothing is inside. I guess that's the other thing I should clarify for people watching this. Everything's outside.
Sure.
So, it's all good, man. It's all good.
I like it. No, that's cool. No, and outdoor, alfresco eating has opened up again in Chicago as well. But yeah, I just haven't.
You guys have
for a week or two.
Too. What they've done here is they're people in cars are pissed. But why do you own a car in New York City anyway?
Exactly.
Now there's a lot of dining in what used to be parking spots on the side of the road. So that's
okay. Yeah, that's got to be. I mean, that's always when I'm in New York. I'm always fascinated by the weird little the car parking lots, the elevated ones, the many tiered outdoor. What's that?
They don't have the elevated ones in Chicago. The parking lot.
No, well they not the outdoor ones like that. No, everything's hollowed out buildings. What's that?
Chicago just kind of keeps going, and New York City is a bunch of islands, so we have to build up.
Yeah. No, I understand. And I love, too, the gas stations that are at the bottom of buildings that you have to, like, drive in, and they're almost, like, at the floor level of a high-rise is above it and stuff. And we don't have gas stations like that.
I don't own a car, so I've not encountered as many of those, but I hear
you. My father's former restaurant on Wabash Avenue, Jewelers Row was the neighborhood because there were all, and still are, many jewelry stores at these things. The building that housed his restaurant is now a hollowed out parking lot. Okay. And I remember taking my sister to dinner and going, look, that used to be Dad. She's like, oh my God, it is Dad's building. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, there's the restaurant, and that would have been the banquet rooms, and I'm pointing at all the different floors. And yeah, it's crazy. It's right down the street from, I think we ate there. In fact, I know I did. I took you guys, Miller's Pub, my favorite old timey Chicago haunt.
Yeah.
So
yeah, man, I'm bummed. I was gonna hit you up, assuming we did this family reunion.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, we travel again soon.
And the same goes for New York, Fred. Eventually I'll come back to New York Comic Con, or I keep threatening, and I know enough people at Marvel that I really do want to get a tour one day and come earlier in the week and do all that.
There's nothing. There's a nice mural. I want to say it's Marco Giostri, most of it, and then there's a lot of cubicles. It's not.
Yeah, but I just even see CB at the office
like
and stuff.
Tony Stark, like Iron Man armor, right? Like it's nothing like that. It's
Have you? And I haven't. Have you gone to Burbank and seen DC?
I haven't. I did DC when it was in
sure
on to that, and with the Clark Kent. Phone booth and all that stuff. Yeah. Mad office had this big bronze Alfred E. Newman, like in a World War II helmet kind of deal on the globe and stuff. But
I wonder if that was a prop from Up the Academy.
Movie. Who knows? They
because
from somewhere.
Okay, because then I know Bill Gaines hated that movie, and rightfully so. It's a horrible movie. It's the. I'm trying to do the math in my head. It's the 40th anniversary of Up the Academy. And one of my dear radio friends in Chicago, Harry Tynowitz, who was host at ESPN 1000 back in the day, the Chicago ESPN affiliate, he was one of the kids in that movie. And it's a horrible movie.
I have no idea what you're talking about. It's called Up.
Oh, yeah. Mad Magazine presents Up the Academy, and it was at a military academy for teenagers.
We're competing with Animal House sort of deal.
It wanted to, but it couldn't.
National Lampoon. They were
yes, yep, and it was just horrible.
Like they're always ripping everything off. I don't. Yeah, I was mad for being mad.
Porky's is a better movie than Up the Academy. That should say everything you need to know. And also,
fun little preview for tonight's game. The very last question in tonight's quiz involves a Mad TV alumnus. So it's very appropriate for our
Talking Mad
now. Yeah, that's right.
Would you have ever wanted to write for Mad, or has your and Ryan Dunleavy, your fine co-collaborator on all those great comic book histories
I feel like he did briefly work for Mad.
Okay. Hey, we should ask
Tom Fowler, who did a lot of stuff for Mad. I loved Mad as a kid. I still love it to this day. It would have been awesome. But,
did the Kickstarter finish for Comic Book History of Animation?
Yep.
For you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Did you succeed in your goals?
We raised 180% of our ask. And so thank you for all out there in internet land who pledged, and everyone who did pledge. Check your email because the first issue has arrived already of 5. So yeah, so it's going good. It's going strong.
Excellent. And when we last spoke, Action Presidents
yes, and
was coming out.
And I didn't have these the last time we spoke, but I have them now. So kids, go run now and get your John F. Kennedys and get your Theodore Roosevelts.
Oh man, that's a great pose for Teddy. That's great.
Absolutely, Ryan really outdid himself on this theater. Pretty great.
Man, Teddy Roosevelt would have been thrilled with that picture. Bully.
Well, I mean, the phrase "action president" I think was sort of invented for him. So yeah, so if you have, it's for the 8 to 12-year-old history and comedy level in your life, real history, fake jokes. But I really believe these books are all ages. So they're everywhere. They're Barnes & Noble. They're at Walmart. They're your local comic book store. Run out now and get your.
Almost Ed Sullivan-esque there. So run out right now and pick up your Action Presidents.
But it's 21 past the hour, so I feel like it's time. It's time, John, for me to subject you and the listeners and viewers to another round of Word Balloon Trivia. Once again, we have 4 rounds. I forgot. Somewhere I've written down what your ongoing score is. You are like 2 under 500 points wise.
Okay, so I can live with that.
We will see how this goes. So
I'm always delighted, Fred, because you ask good, hard questions, and I'm sure that our viewers appreciate that.
And
I know I do.
Viewers at home, please. So we have 4 rounds of trivia. The third round is the picture round, as it was last time. The last round is the mystery round, as it was last time. John is a paragon of ethical play.
Yes.
But we've noticed, let's see if this happens this time as well. There's a delay with the comments. So if you know the answer, usually I do pub trivia. They yell at, they're like, don't be a jerk and shout out the answers. No. Here, absolutely shout out the answers. For one thing, the delay last time was such that it didn't really help John that much anyway. But we'll see if that's different this time, or we'll stall and we'll see how that goes. So again, we want you.
Hopefully.
You freezing up?
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, kids. I apologize. We're here. We're back. If you're still watching, I do apologize. Technical difficulties, but let's see. Hopefully Fred will be back, and I will. I'll email him while we're talking. We'll get him back. But yeah, sorry about that. Let me know that you guys can see me again, and we're back, because I don't want you to go away permanently. But I will see if anybody is still here. It looks like I still got 18 viewers. Freddie's back.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Freddie. That on my end.
Oh, okay, good. So, well, I moved downstairs anyway with the better internet connection anyway.
So did I, and I went back to my other computer. So hold on one second. I will turn the camera a bit so that I am more centered again.
I have mood lighting on me.
You look good.
Thank
Twilight
you.
time.
Well,
go kid yourself.
Shadows are my friend.
There we go.
John, getting my spiel, folks. If you want to shout out the answer, go right ahead in the chat. And last time we had a bit of a delay, so we'll see if that works this time. But otherwise,
yes, you can answer. I will not look until the answer is revealed by Fred, and then we will look and see who among you managed to get it correctly.
That's right.
So,
and you will win a no prize for success.
Yes, that's true.
Excelsior.
True believer.
Face front, true believers.
Had you ever? I've never seen one of the no prize envelopes. Have you?
Only on the internet.
Oh, that's true. I guess I have probably in that capacity. Fair enough.
But okay, so
we're
ready for game 2 of the Word Balloon Trivia Challenge.
Indeed.
So last time, as you may recall, we did the first round, obviously, of Word Balloon Trivia, and so we had a game called Famous First Edition. This is slightly different. This is the second round of Word Balloon Trivia. So the first round tonight is called decoupling. Decoupling, John.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you something that is usually a pair, and then you have the answer is breaking up is hard to do, John, but I'm going to have to insist that it happens in this game, and that you're going to give me the 2 component parts of the pair. For example, if I said the dynamic duo, your answer would be
Batman and Robin.
Correct. So are you ready?
I am.
Round 1, decoupling. Number 1, Firestorm, the Nuclear Man.
Martin Stein and Robbie. Ronnie Raymond.
Very nice. Correct.
Or would you have accepted Jason Rausch?
Yes, drawn by my good buddy and former roommate Jamal Angle.
There we go.
Firestorm. The Daughters of the Dragon.
Ooh, okay. Misty Knight and Colleen Wing.
Correct.
My favorite 70s female duo.
Okay, this is a little bit tougher. This is a 90s video game. Can you name who comprised Double Dragon? 1991 video game.
Yeah. Can I name who composed? Oh, so there's a duo in Double Dragon, obviously?
Yeah, the 2 martial artists.
I cannot, unfortunately.
Billy and Jimmy Lee. They were twins.
Oh, very nice. Michael Cooper getting Ronnie Raymond correct there.
Very nice. So, but again, this is decoupling. So these are.
Well, so we need Marty Stein as well.
And you need to give me both members of the pair. If you were doing a fastball special.
You know, in Cleveland, it's $50 extra for a fastball special.
In the comics.
Fastball special.
In the Marvel comics.
Oh, so is that a New Mutants reference of some sort?
In the X-Men comics.
No, I'll admit my blind spot is the X-Men.
So. Oh, nice. You and me both, brother. It's Wolverine Colossus. When Colossus would throw Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
They called that the fastball.
I completely forgot. That's fantastic. Yes, indeed. All right, so
The Avengers, seasons 4 and 5, which aired on British TV from 1965 to 1968.
Seasons 4 and 5. So that would be John Steed and was it Tara King?
Tara King was season 6.
Oh God, who was in between? Oh, I see. So that would be John Steed and Emma Peel.
Correct. John Steed and Emma Peel is correct. Dr. David Keel and John Steed were the Avengers in season 1. And the thing about Honor Blackman is she has a crazier real name than her actual Avengers name.
Wasn't it Kathy something?
Kathy Gale. It was Kathy Gale in seasons 2 and 3. But
okay, let's acknowledge some people that got the fastball special correct. So
there we go. Thank you, Isham.
And Michael.
Thank you.
And Keowa.
There we go.
And John. And Mario, literally everybody except your online contestant.
Everyone,
and then
in pub trivia, when everyone gets the answer correct, that's called a social.
There we go. So let us all take a drink. Indeed, everybody here, and 3 KO Isham and Mario, or no, just KO and Isham got Steed and Mrs. Peel correctly.
Nice. All right. In the climax of the 2013 film Pacific Rim, who piloted the Mecha Gypsy Danger? I will accept both actors' names as well as the character names.
No, I'm sorry. I'll give up. Feel free, everybody, if you know.
Let's see if we can get any from
while we're waiting
in a gallery.
So that's hilarious. Yeah, there is a delay, and that's okay. I was going to say I was staying with Bendis for Rose City last year, and I was hanging out in his office where he's got his TV set up. He's like, Pacific Rim. I'm like, yeah, all right. He goes, watch that while we're talking. I'm like, yeah, all right. He goes, oh, it's fun visually. I'm like, it is fun visually. But yeah, I liked it enough, but I'm not it was
not a name drop or anything, but Charles Soule and I went and saw that, and I didn't. But we got hammered beforehand, and it's just not a movie you should watch while chemically inebriated. I was looking where the names of the characters are Raleigh Beckett and Mako Mori, who are played respectively by Charlie Hunnam and Rinko Kikuchi are the names.
Yes, and Mario is profiling white guy, Asian girl. Thank you, Mario.
That's right.
There you go. Brian got it correct.
And Brian got it. My buddy Brian, who's on my trivia team. By the way.
Well, hey, welcome, Brian. Thank you for watching tonight. That's
very much appreciated. Hard traveling heroes, John. If you were talking about the hard traveling heroes, who would you be referring to?
That's Green Lantern and Green Arrow, or Oliver Queen and Hal Jordan, because they spend most of that hard traveling time in their civilian guys.
That's true, and written by the late great, just recently passed, too soon, Mr. Denny O'Neil.
And drawn by Neil Adams, indeed.
Did
you see in the Green Lantern 100-page spectacular that I was just talking about before you joined us, Denny and Mike Grell did a hard traveling heroes story.
Very nice. Yeah. I got to work with Mike Grell and Hercules. And,
that's wild, man! I didn't know that.
Yeah. Greg and I did a Herc issue with Mike. It was largely about Hermes.
Yep.
Terrific. We got lots of people got the hard traveling heroes.
Oh, yeah.
Brother Voodoo, John. Brother Voodoo is two people.
Yes, it is. And
one live, one dead. What are the names?
I know they're the brothers and
twins.
Really. And I don't remember their surname or their first names, but I do remember it was an alive and dead brother.
That's right. It is Jericho Drum and David Drum.
Jericho Drum, of course. Yes.
So
of course, now he's Dr. Voodoo.
That's right, he's Dr. Voodoo. Face front, true believers.
A friend was doing a Dr. Voodoo drawing, and he had him in his original depiction with the skull drawn on his face in kind of a traditional native voodoo fashion.
Well, and I'm like Baron Samedi in Live and Let Die.
Absolutely, yes. And I'm like, they changed the design. And seriously, he was like,
well, they changed the design like after his first appearance.
Well, exactly. And I'm like, dude, yeah, I got to be honest, in today's environment, don't know if that would fly. And he's like, God, I'm really glad you said that.
Well, now Valiant, that's kind of Shadow Man shtick.
Oh, I didn't even realize it.
Voodoo. I mean, yeah, sure. He's sort of a voodoo character.
Yeah, again, and then with no malice, because seriously, he felt horrible, but I'm like, yeah, that might be problematic.
If people like it, it's not offensive.
Well, I understand, but again, I'm like, maybe, you might want to read things. He's like, God, I'm really glad you said something.
Fair enough. So, John, for that round of decoupling, well done. You are batting 500.
I'll take it.
Which is pretty good. Pretty good.
I'll take it.
We are kind of doing it is kind of like batting averages, these.
Yes. I'm very happy to get
it. Not, we're not pussyfooting around these trivia questions.
Yeah, I'm no Charles Van Doren, if I could put it in
That's
quiz
right.
show.
You're no
Herb Stempel.
That's right. This Alex Trebek would be.
Oh, Ken Jennings, of course.
Ken Jennings.
Yes. I am no. I mean, I feel very well rounded trivia wise, but I do have my blind spots, and X-Men are one of them. Absolutely. So.
Well, John, as comics fans, we like to argue about stuff. One of the things we like to argue about is who would win in a fight, right?
Sure.
it gets very abstract, right? I mean, as a comics writer, I feel like it's kind of a silly argument because the answer is always whoever, like, the writer wants to win the fight is going to win the fight, and then you're figure out. So
or
John,
whoever's name is on the book, because, like, for instance, Solomon Grundy shows up in Green Arrow, and it's like, well, who would win? And they're like, come on, Solomon Grundy. I'm like, the book is called Green Arrow. Who do you think is going to win?
But my answer to that is it the first or second part of the story?
That's true too.
Right, my money's on Solomon Grundy.
Or that great early Daredevil issue where Namor showed up and beat the crap out of Daredevil, and Daredevil kept coming up to try to fight, and finally Namor's like, all right, you're worthy. I'm not going to do this anymore. Kind of like one of my favorite Deep Space Nine Star Trek episodes where one of the Jem'Hadar respects Worf, and he's like, I can't win. This guy won't quit. I yield. And then it's like, way to go, Worf.
So I'm curious, Jen, who do you think would win in a fight? And we'll throw this out at the peanut gallery too. Thor or Superman?
That's the classic question.
Right.
I would say because of Thor's magic, he would have the advantage.
That's right. Superman, particularly in like the 60s, 70s period, 50s maybe even, they were very into his
weakness. Yes.
I'm rereading for a column I do for 13th Dimension, the website, all the Schuster Supermans that are all on DC Universe, and I'm amazed at like Superman just goes after crooked mining operators and
slumlords,
war profiteers, trigger happy governors when it comes to capital punishment and all that stuff. But what's funny, John? In round 2 of tonight's trivia, who would we win? This is a Rotten Tomatoes edition of who would win in a fight. So we actually have actual tar data as to who we were going to win. So I just asked who would win in a fight, Thor or Superman. Who would win in a fight, John? Thor: The Dark World or Man of Steel, based on their critics' which is the higher critics' Rotten Tomatoes score, John? Thor: The Dark World or Man of Steel?
I'm going to guess Man of Steel.
Ooh. Man of Steel is at 56%. Thor: The Dark World has 66%.
Interesting.
Very close. Very close.
Wow. Very cool. Nice. Jeff Corder, coming soon from DC, Superman beat cop. Nice.
John, who would win in a fight? X-Men: The Last Stand or X-Men: Dark Phoenix? 2 films about the same comic story.
Oh, that's got to be Last Stand.
Correct. Last Stand's 57%. Dark Phoenix, 23%. Yikes.
Yeah, I remember that.
That is the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score of the movies I'm talking about in this quiz.
I want to acknowledge people who are still debating Superman versus Thor. And they're okay. Well, Mike Cooper says Man of Steel. What else? Let's see. I want to scroll up a little bit because people had great answers. Like Vikings Fight Dirty.
There, that's right.
There you go. Thor: Dark World. So Isham got that correct. And Last Stand, he got that correct. Very good. And Last Stand, all right, very good.
Last Stand, I believe, was the first movie I saw at an official Marvel screening.
Really?
Where they filed us all in, the freelancers and the employees, and took all our cell phones away and stuff.
Very good. All right, moving on.
Who would win in a fight, John? The Ang Lee Hulk or the Edward Norton Louis Lasseter, if I'm sure I'm mispronouncing his name, the Incredible Hulk? Who would win in a fight, John? Hulk or the Incredible Hulk?
Ooh, that's a tough question because I can appreciate people enjoying the artistry of Ang Lee's version, but I'm going to go with Ed Norton's Incredible Hulk.
Wow, that is correct. That is correct. Ang Lee's Hulk, a movie I really don't like, is 62%. I actually like the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk.
I did too.
67%, so it's very close.
I assume, based on interviews with people like Casada and other people, that it was more about Edward Norton's demand to have more control of what happens with the Hulk, and that's why things didn't work out.
Well, what's really interesting is if you listen to Mark Maron's podcast, when he had Ed Norton on it, he Marvels, that's right. But Ed Norton had really talked for quite a bit about what he had planned, and it was very interesting. Like he was thinking more of a Chris Nolan Batman. I mean, that's silly. I guess when you say it out loud, it sounds kind of silly. But when Ed Norton said it, I was kind of convinced. Like he wanted to do a trilogy like Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, and at the he said at the time he was developing that stuff, the Marvel Cinematic Universe had not yet
been gelled. Yeah,
exactly. It sort of blows our minds to think of it now, but back then they had yet to figure out how interconnected all the movies were.
And plus, Universal kind of owns the film rights to the Hulk when you call it Hulk Solo and stuff. And because I had completely forgotten that Universal made the Lou Ferrigno, Bill Bixby Hulk as well, so those rights go that far back.
Yeah, well, and if you really want to go down a rabbit hole, try and pick out the Namor film rights.
Oh, absolutely. And I know, and isn't that a shame? Because just as he would make a perfect Black Adam, The Rock would be amazing as Namor. It is so perfect, I think.
Interesting. He's a little bulky for me. I want a more slender. Back in the day, I thought, Stephen Chow is.
Maybe from one of the, was he Kato in the Green Lantern or the Green Hornet movie?
He was in Kung Fu Hustle.
I think it. Yeah, I believe he was also Kato.
Yeah. I think he'd make a great Namor. Anyway,
I'm with you.
Who would win in a fight, John? Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, or Justice League: not the Snyder Cut?
Oh, it's got to be Dawn of Justice.
Believe it or not, Dawn of Justice is the second lowest Rotten Tomatoes score on this quiz. It's 28%, so it barely edges out Dark Phoenix as the second shittiest movie.
But Justice League got what?
Justice League is 40, which is still terrible, but it's better than 28.
Yeah, it's certainly better than that. Yeah, wow. What do you think, Fred? Are you excited? Because someone asked me before about the Snyder Cut. Let's take a quick tangent.
No,
and
I don't. Snyder's made literally one good movie.
With 300?
No, I hate 300. His Dawn of the Dead remake is terrific. The original Dawn of the Dead is one of my all-time favorites, but I think his remake is great. But
fair enough.
Well, The Watchmen, Sucker Punch, hard pass. No, thank you.
All right, these guys unfortunately agreed with me and thought it was going to be Justice League that was worse. But or are we saying which is better? Like almost, yeah, because I thought
who would win, and once again the peanut gallery has landed.
They were right.
Answer.
They were correct. Excuse me. Yes. So Isham and I were incorrect, and also KO thinking it was Batman Superman. All right, I'm with you now.
John, I like big monsters, and I cannot lie. I grew up in New Jersey in the 70s, partly, where they would always on Saturdays they would show the kaiju monster movie.
Sure.
Who'd win in a fight, John? Kong: Skull Island or Godzilla: King of the Monsters?
Now that's both sequels, correct? Was Godzilla the first movie?
Is the most recent new King Kong movie since the Peter Jackson one.
Okay, but
Godzilla is a prequel.
Wasn't Godzilla
is a sequel? Yeah,
that is a sequel.
Came out last year, 2019.
I'm going to say Godzilla did better than Skull Island.
I'm afraid not. I was shocked because I loved Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Me too.
I saw it in Denver right after Denver Comic Con ended, actually, with my wife. She had a fever, so she liked it less than I did. But the darn critics, John, gave my beloved Godzilla King of the Monsters 42%, while Kong Skull Island 75%. What?
Wow. Man, I got to tell you, including the Peter Jackson one, I am so in, and I love the classic King Kong, and of course the '60s King Kong versus Godzilla.
Right, sure.
But I have to say the Kong movies have left me cold.
Yeah, I've actually not seen Skull Island. John, who would win in a fight? Solo: A Star Wars Story, or Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker?
Ooh.
Young or dead Solo, John?
Well, I think certainly if we're looking at Rotten Tomatoes today, that Solo did better than Rise of Skywalker.
100% correct in this. And by 100%, I mean 70%. Can you believe it? Solo, a movie that famously nearly destroyed the franchise, got 70% Rotten Tomatoes. Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker, 51%. So critics were not a fan of Rise of Skywalker at all.
I have to agree, and I got to tell you, man, I liked Solo. I mean, I always forget the actor's name. He's got a weird name. I think slightly miscast, but that said, I thought it was a fun story, and I thought Ron Howard, especially coming in midway and having to kind of reshoot three quarters of the movie, I'm like, unlike Whedon and Justice League, I think I liked what Ron Howard did. I like Solo.
It's funny. I assuming I can discern the parts, I actually kind of like what Whedon did on Justice League, but I have no interest in Star Wars. What I'd say about Star Wars is it's an 11-movie franchise with 2 good movies, which
I understand.
I know it's not a popular opinion, but it's one.
That's all right.
John, who would win in a fight? Ant-Man or Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Oh, Ant-Man's got to have done better than Ant-Man and the Wasp. No? Really? Interesting. I like being wrong, Fred. It's okay.
It's a close thing. Ant-Man was 83. Ant-Man and the Wasp was 88.
Wow.
So the Wasp coupled. Also, who would win in a fight? It's not Ant-Man's outnumbered by Ant-Man and the Wasp.
This is true.
Fair enough.
Tangent. Jeff Corder. Hey, Johnny, is that a George Pal circa 1953 War of the Worlds Martian heat ray eye over your right shoulder? In the background, take cover.
Oh yeah, there is sort of a weird green effect.
Yeah, I've got the Larry King wallpaper behind us that would be exposed on this shot. Or no, it's not. I guess there's the black. I don't know why, but my lights work weird with my wallpaper. So, but that's okay.
The green glass, like a covering or whatever.
Yeah, and it gives this kind of kryptonite effect on my lights. So what can I say?
John, who would win in a fight? These are 2 live-action Disney magic users. Okay, who would win in a fight? Aladdin, the 2019 version, or the Angelina Jolie Maleficent?
Oh, I would think Maleficent would probably rate better than Aladdin.
Again,
incorrect.
Very close, but incorrect.
I still love it.
Aladdin was 57%. Maleficent 54%. So.
Oh wow! See, I got to be honest. Live action, and I won't deny that my live action dislike for these Disney remakes really kind of comes through, and I'm just like, what's the point?
Yeah,
the original animated one is still great. I don't understand why you're doing this.
Ironically, I've only seen Aladdin, and it's fine. Like it's. They gave the cartoon part to actors and made them sing the songs, and there's special effects. Smith is fine. It's fine. I mean, you can't follow Robin Williams in that role. It's too hard.
Yeah. Oh God. Yes. Yes.
John, who would win in a fight? Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man Homecoming?
Oh, Homecoming had to have beaten Spider-Man 2. No. Man, I suck.
Fun fact. That was a trick question. Both Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man Homecoming have a 92% Rotten Tomatoes rating.
I understand. I literally was watching.
Not a wrong answer on that one.
I was okay. I was literally watching Spider-Man 2 the other day on one of the cable channels, and I really love how both the first Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 I think hold up 20 years later.
I need to see it again. I remember it as being one of the top 5 superhero movies, because of Rosemary Harris and Alfred Molina.
Agreed.
Primarily.
Yes, man. But, is that who plays Octavius's wife, Rosemary Harris?
No, she plays Aunt May.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah.
That man, I'll tell you, you're right. Toby's Aunt May is fantastic.
Yeah.
And really kind of classic. I mean, I love, and actually, I thought Marissa Tomei was fun in the Holland movies, and I love Sally Field and everything she does. So that's okay. But
we've had a lot of good Aunt Mays. Aunt May has been a good part. She's not quite Joker level in terms of all that stuff.
Hey, this is a Rob Burnett fan, Orville Nation. It's a pleasure. I appreciate you joining us, Orville.
Hey. So I have to pee, so I'm going to drop this question.
Okay.
And I'm curious to hear what the gang thinks. This is the final question of this round.
Okay.
Who would win in a fight? This is the big one. Who would win in a fight? Avengers Infinity War or Avengers Endgame?
And he'll be back with the answer in a moment. Avengers Infinity War or Avengers Endgame? Which of those was the better Rotten Tomatoes score? That's going to be very interesting. I will tell you all now that my answer will be Endgame, because I think everyone was so satisfied with the way that the franchise wrapped up. Infinity War is a great movie, though. Isn't it interesting, man? God, what was that? Oh, God, I was watching Justice League Dark Apocalypse War today in preparation for my conversation with James Tucker. And if you guys haven't seen it, I got to tell you, it is outstanding. And I will tell Fred the same when he comes back. But it has a lot of similar themes to Endgame. But as I learned from James Tucker, he had already submitted the finished script to the animators months before Endgame debuted. So I was just Fred making the comparison of Avengers Endgame to Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, the animated movie that just came out 2 months ago. And I spoke to James Tucker about it, and there are a lot of similar themes in Endgame and Apocalypse War. But James had already submitted the script for the animators 4 months before Endgame came out. And he said he's sitting in the theater watching Endgame, and when he realizes the time jump and the end of the world and everything that happened, he's like, fuck. And he literally said, I said fuck, like out loud in the theater.
You bring that up, and what occurs to me is something that didn't really, I didn't make it a connection before, which was there's a lot of similarities between Endgame and the Grant Morrison, Howard Porter storyline, Rock of Ages and JLA, with the time travel and all that stuff. Is that what that animated film is based on? Is that based on the Rock of Ages?
No, it's an original story that ties up the continuity that started with the Flashpoint Paradox and ends with this film.
Cool.
And James and I, he's like, can we pre-record? I said, sure. Because I'm like, do you want to do it live? He's like, well, it's better for me in the afternoon. I'm like, okay. And at first he was like, I don't know if my face is going to be ready for video. He goes, I'm having hair issues. I'm like, no, it's cool. And he shows up and he's all clean and he looks great and everything. And everything clean shaven, his head's all shaven. He's like, I'm like, oh, you look great. And I'm like, totally like, hey, whatever. And
well,
like,
I'm getting my first
5 minutes.
I'm getting my first haircut tomorrow afternoon since February. So I'm very excited that I literally have not had this long hair in my life, so I don't quite know what to do with it.
This is my 80s college length, so yeah.
I'm very much approaching Walton Goggins level. But anyway, John, who would win in a fight? Avengers Infinity War or Avengers Endgame?
I'm going to say, again, if you took these ratings today, that Endgame might edge out Infinity War because everyone liked the way that the series wrapped up.
Well, you are correct. The only thing you're incorrect at is it's not even close. Avengers Endgame is 94 and Infinity War is 85. I personally totally disagree with that. I think Infinity War is vastly superior, but anyway.
I understand. And again, no, incredible movies. Here, let's see what the kids had to say. So Infinity War, correct. Tex Avery, yes. Endgame, yep. Oh, well, actually, no, the Endgames are incorrect. That's right. So, yeah, it was Endgame, actually, yes. Yeah. Definitely Endgame, Infinity War. I'm going to say Infinity War, though I prefer Endgame. Just got it on Blu-ray.
Nice.
Fred, is that the Mayan apocalypse calendar behind you on the wall?
I think it's Aztec, but yes, essentially correct. It was a wedding gift from a buddy of mine who had gone to Mexico.
This is why I love Fred and Crystal. Everybody, they're through and through.
Absolutely. Remember, just to clear up a common misconception. The only reason the Mayan calendar entered in 2012 is that then they had to make another calendar. Like that's just there's only so much shit you can fit on that stone disc, people. So it's not that the world was going to end; it's that they had to make another disc to go out for 2,000 years. And the modern dating. This is I spent New Year's Eve on a cruise to Mexico, which, considering current events is kind of interesting. But so we did all these Mayan ruins in the Yucatan, and the guide was like, they figured out through, atomic clocks and so forth. The Mayan calendar is correct within like a couple hundredths of a second. Like it's ridiculously. The Mayans, God bless them, stared at those stars for a really long time, and they got really excellent measurements out of them. Anyway.
Wow.
So, John, your score for
I suck.
Who would win in a fight? Nope, you're still 500.
Oh, interesting.
You're doing good, and
I'm very happy.
Very good. Okay, so John,
round three.
Round three is the picture round, which means
exciting.
You need to share the screen.
I'm prepared.
So I was watching one of my favorite movies on the TV the other day, and I was struck by the fact that so this is a very movie-heavy trivia round, I just want to warn you. So, one of the things, Marvel Studios, I got a lot of problem with a lot of the movies, but I must say their costume selections are generally excellent. Particularly if you look at other superhero comic book movies, the costume designers get it in their heads that these outfits need to be practical or realistic or whatever. And part of the reason in comics history why superheroes wear costumes, partly it's because they were drawn by a lot of neophyte artists, and they learned how to drawing naked people, and frankly, it's just easier to draw a naked guy and slap a bunch of color on him and say I'm done, as opposed to drawing folds in clothing is a giant pain in the ass, as any comic book artist or any artist will tell you.
Certainly.
But when you actually have physical clothes to put on actual people, it can be a little rough, and these characters sometimes lose their iconic stature. So, John, for this third round, which is entitled Wardrobe Malfunction, you must identify the iconic comic book character depicted based solely on their arguably shitty movie costume.
I am excited as hell. You are.
I have removed all the human aspects of these costumes. I've left only the clothing and obviously the forms therein. So let's see. This may be easy. This may be hard. This may be a total disaster. I don't know. But do I now have the ability to share my screen?
If you were on Google Chrome, you should be able to share your screen. Yes,
I am in fact on Google Chrome.
Okay, yeah, I'm prepared to show the visuals there. Okay, so I am prepared to put up the visual now.
All right,
go.
Oh yeah, this quiz is called Wardrobe Malfunction.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's not what it first.
It's called Wardrobe. I googled sexy superhero Halloween costume, and this is what came up.
And I got to tell you, I like the Corinthian columns in the background, especially the one over his
I think
left
this
shoulder.
guy is a gay porn star. I couldn't tell you for sure.
That's outstanding.
Okay, so number one.
Okay.
Who is
All right, here we go.
Who is name the comic book hero?
All right, putting it on screen. Here we go. Oh. Did you ask again? Is it hero or villain, or did you like?
There are both heroes and villains in this quiz.
Okay, and this is the first one. Wow.
Squint if you have to.
Yeah, really. Interesting. I'm gonna guess Magneto.
Very close. Correct film. Wrong person.
Oh, it's Cyclops. Amazing.
That is James Marsden as Cyclops in X-Men.
Sure. Very good. This is thrilling, Fred. I love what you're doing right now. This is great.
So number two, you ready?
Yep.
Wardrobe malfunction. Who's this?
Okay. Oh, no, that's the curtain. I thought that was a sword behind him, and I was going to guess Blade, but no. Man, that. Whew.
I actually have never seen this movie.
Mm.
Not that that's a hint or anything. I'm just saying.
I understand. Man.
Is it Peter Curry weighing in?
Is he correct? Is it in fact?
I can only see the slideshow. I can't see.
All right, so okay, so here's some guesses.
Okay, I'm ready.
Everybody. So KOA says Blade.
No.
John Hergenberger says Wong.
No.
Hayden Saint says Bullseye.
Correct.
There we go. Hayden Saint, everybody.
As Bullseye
and Brian also correctly got Bullseye. Very good.
Very nice. Very nice. And so
all right.
To you. Okay. You guys, thank you for helping out, John. We appreciate it. Okay. Number three.
Number three. Okay, here we go. Jesus Christ. God damn.
See what I mean? You
yeah.
give it a generic, gray spandex, blue-gray spandex.
Well, there's more white than actual costume here, so it's like even tougher. But Ghost Rider.
Can you see the building above the biggest white splotch?
Oh, is that the black Spider-Man costume?
No.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, here we go. You see now, is KOY correct? Is it Storm?
Which one?
Which Storm?
Yeah.
So, like, is it like, are you saying like which movie version of Storm?
Am I?
I assume you mean X-Men Storm. I assume KO means X-Men.
No, I mean Susan Storm. So
it is the Invisible Woman.
You are
wow. Hayden Sane, once again, correct. Very good. He knows his stuff. Well done. Orville Nation thought it was Hallie. Jeff Corder thought it was Catwoman.
The reason I asked is, did you notice the building to her? Can you read what is written on her building above her shoulder?
No.
It says Baxter.
It said what? Baxter?
Baxter.
There you go. Of course it would be Sue Storm then. Yes.
Little hint there.
That's awesome.
But Storm, close enough.
Very funny. That's hilarious, man. No, this is good. Okay, another one. Oh, that's the Rhino.
Correct, from The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Which was a misnomer as far as its title. It was not very amazing.
I did not see this one, although I wrote a video game based on it. So
wow, I didn't know that. I love, and then Fred, I was going to ask earlier about possible video games and stuff. The Englishman in San Diego did get it correct with Rhino. He is watching with the sound off and loving this. And seriously, man, I'm really glad you're watching. He has a fine podcast as well.
He does. I was on it 10 days ago, I think. So.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's excellent, man. No, he's I met him as we were like trying to remember where we met in New York for the press junket for Killing Joke. Oh, we were at the same round table for that. And yeah. So no, good dude. So very good. And yes, Rhino got it correctly. KOY also got it correctly. Very nice.
Can you see number 5?
Here we go, number 5. Let's see. 1 second. Boom. Okay, that's a woman. That's got to be Storm from the X-Men. Or not. Oh my, unfortunately, it is the horrible Batgirl from Batman and Robin.
You remember what Batgirl's real name is in Batman and Robin? I forgot this until I was putting together this quiz.
No, I know she's Alfred's niece.
Yeah, she's Barbara Wilson for
some God. Reason. Jesus. You know, and now I'm blanking. What's the actress, the crush? What's her name again?
Alicia Silverstone.
Alicia Silverstone. She, at the time she was dating Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke was in Chicago at Steppenwolf Theater doing a production of a Sam Shepard play called Buried Child.
Sure.
And I saw Alicia Silverstone in The Crush, and I saw her in the Aerosmith videos that she did in the 90s and stuff. It was the 90s. And then I saw her in person, and she is a tiny, at the time, because now she is much older. This was more than 20 years ago. Right. She's a tiny little girl, and I never felt more like a dirty old man in terms of, I'm embarrassed for thinking how cute she was in The Crush and the Aerosmith videos. And that all went away. And I was very aware of my age. And again, this very young lady in front of me. And I'm like, I am a horrible man.
It shows you're not a sociopath, John, which I already knew, but now the viewers know as well.
I will confess all of it.
Batman and Robin is one of the only movies I've ever walked out on.
I still haven't seen it either. I refute because it got such bad ratings and it looked ridiculous and it was so overly merchandised. And I'm like, well, fuck that. I'm not going to go see this.
Well, and I also hated the Schumacher, the one before it.
Well, and you know, and sadly, of course, we lost Joe Schumacher this week because he made a lot of really good movies. Obviously, not the Batman movies necessarily. Falling Down.
Falling Down.
Lost Boys.
I love Lost Boys.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
I'm thinking up that I really like.
And God, who was Cousins? I was talking about Bill Peterson and Ted Danson bonding as they made the great comedy Cousins. And
I've never seen that one.
Oh, it's a great 80s movie. And in fact, as I was telling people before you came on, it was like that's what convinced William Peterson to try television. Because he was asking Danson, he's like, "What's with you in television?" He goes, "You're good at this." And he goes,
Manhunter, right? Wasn't William Peterson isn't he opposite Brian Cox in Manhunter? Is that one?
Yes, he is. Absolutely. a Chicago guy, and was good friends with him in the '90s. I miss him. Haven't talked to him in 15 years because he's kicking back and relaxing. So, look at some of these answers. John Hedgelberger thought it was Huntress. Englishman got it right. So, and yeah, it's funny. Yes, Richard Owens. It was the bat nipple one. That is correct. So there we go.
Unfortunately, Batgirl, to my knowledge, did not have the bat nipples. I think that would maybe be a step too far.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Batman and Robin, it was a step too far. But for her,
is this a new vision, or are we still looking at Batgirl right now?
Number 6 is the new one.
Here we go. All right, that's Blade.
Of course it is. That's Blade.
All right.
This is the movie I was watching, 1998. This is why all comic book characters were cursed to wear leather jackets and body armor.
Yeah, you're right. That's true.
I feel like the Matrix straight up jacked Blade's entire look.
I agree with that. Well, and also people incorrectly point at the start of the superhero era with the X-Men movies or Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, and I'm like, Blade was a hit.
Yep,
and rightfully so, because I think it's a great movie. I even like the second Blade movie. The third one.
Third one, I've not been able to force myself to sit through.
Yeah, not too good. Not too good.
Speaking of leather jackets and comic book characters, can you move on to number 7?
I will. Trying to look at the stuff on his jacket, maybe as a clue.
On his shirt. I don't know. I don't know what's on his shirt.
I was looking at the lapels on his jacket.
Yeah, I have no clue what those are.
I'm going to guess Bullseye from Daredevil.
John, you shouldn't do that. That already was an answer.
Oh, really? Wait a minute. We already had Bullseye? What was I?
That was number 2. His leather jacket's goes down to his ankles.
Oh.
It's a much shorter leather jacket.
God, who is this?
Is the peanut gallery helping you out at all?
They've got answers. So, is it indeed Quicksilver from?
It is Quicksilver from X-Men: Days of Future Past.
Oh, there we go. Great depiction of Quicksilver. I really enjoyed that, and then the music they used was just hilarious.
Absolutely, absolutely. And last but not least, number 8.
Okay. Is that Quicksilver from Avengers? And
I was trying to fool you, but I can't fool you, John. That is, in fact, also Quicksilver.
Yes, indeed.
But from X-Men: Days of Future Past. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Is that it? Oh, is that? I thought it was that Quicksilver from Age of Ultron.
It is.
Oh, okay. You said Days of Future Past, but that's okay.
No, that was the last one. This is Aaron. This is Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Right.
The silver-haired guy is Evan Peters.
Right. Okay.
American Horror Story fan.
Yep.
So, well done. Thank you, Peanut Gallery.
Well done, everybody.
That was
John has the quote from the Richard Donner Superman. That is a bad outfit.
That's right.
Woo!
Yeah. So the Marvel Cinematic Universe outfits are generally pretty good. Yeah,
I didn't do too well on that one, but that's all right.
Well, I counted the ones the Peanut Gallery got. I feel like you're all in this together.
Oh no! And that's lovely, Fred. But that's all right. I'm happy to take the loss.
Too late. I'm too lazy to go back and correct.
That's quite all right.
Too late. You are way off on this show.
All right, everybody. We're all on the same team. That's true. It's like a trivia night. That's true.
On the same team. It's me.
All right, I like that.
It's me versus the world, which is
all right.
how I like.
That's very Paul Williams of you. You and me against the world.
Right.
One of my favorite Odd Couple episodes.
So, John, like last time, this next and final round is the mystery round.
Oh, I'm excited.
I'm going to ask you 9, mostly comic book, but kind of all over the place pop culture questions, all on a certain theme. The 10th and final question of this quiz is, what is the theme? So by the end of
that's right.
You should know what theoretically, and the Peanut Gallery will help you out as to what the theme is.
Right. Each answer combined should tell us what the subject is of these questions. I understand. Okay, very good.
Okay. Are you ready for the mystery round? Question number 1. This children's literature-obsessed Spider-Man villain shares her name with a song that clocked in at number 478 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time, but only hit number 8 on the Billboard charts in 1967. So there's a Spider-Man villainess whose name she shares with what Rolling Stone calls the 478th greatest song of all time. Came out in 1967, where it only hit the highest it got on the Billboard charts was number 8. Signature song by this band, very famous.
Oh, it's a band song.
Yeah, not the band, but a band.
Right. Oh shoot! Because I was gonna, and I'm incorrect with this. My initial instinct was, and I've never heard of Proud Mary as a Spider-Man villain, so that's obviously wrong.
I would highly advise against that.
Okay, so it's a girl's name.
Created by J.M. DeMatteis and Marvel Team Up. I used her a couple times in various Spider-Man projects.
Even better.
I saw Nick Spencer's used her in his most recent run.
Oh, even better.
Very famous song.
1967 it was number 8 in 1967 on Casey.
Character is often depicted as a drug dealer or someone who's heavily involved in drugs.
How's
the peanut gallery doing?
Is Jeff Corder right? Is it Delilah?
No.
The league is, and by the way, Hayden is correct. As we are all playing together, it is the League of Word Balloon listeners. This is our trivia team. You're absolutely right, Hayden. That's very good. Damn. Oh, I will accept it being wrong. Can you give me the band?
Well, then I'm going to give it away. So, but sure, Jefferson Airplane is the band.
Oh, so it's White Rabbit.
It's White Rabbit is correct. We're looking for White Rabbit.
Now I only remember White Rabbit as a Steel John Henry Irons villain, because during the reign of the Superman, there was a White Rabbit that was.
So do you remember? Do you know who Leapfrog is or Frogman?
Oh yeah, sure.
He premiered in the same Marvel team up that he did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've used her a bunch. She's super fun.
I love that. No, I had no idea there was a Marvel White Rabbit. That's fantastic. Wow. So, go ask Alice when she's 6 feet tall.
That's right.
Back when Grace Slick was a lovely young thing.
The last spaghetti western. This is question number 2.
Okay.
The last spaghetti western Sergio Leone directed was released in 1971 and starred James Coburn and Rod Steiger. Sometimes known as Fistful of Dynamite and Once Upon a Time ... The Revolution, the original Italian title is Giù la Testa, which is most commonly mistranslated into English as what? Okay. What is the most common English title for Sergio Leone's 1971 film with James Coburn and Rod Steiger?
Yeah, because I knew it as the Dynamite title. And I love that you're doing a spaghetti western clue. I don't know.
Duck, you sucker!
Oh, of course, and I've heard that title before. Absolutely, Duck, you sucker.
And so the story goes that Sergio Leone thought Duck, you sucker was a Brian got it. Was a
Duck and Zoo Crew.
Was a common American. Sergio had somehow gotten into his head that Duck, you sucker was a common American idiom.
Phrase. Yeah, sure.
Question number 3.
Oh, Jeff got it right too. My buddy Jeff.
Duck, you sucker. It's a great movie. I saw it at Film Forum here in New York years ago. It's super awesome. It's a shame it's not as famous as the Police Club was.
Understood.
Number 3. John, the original Teen Titans were Robin, Aqualad, Kid Flash, and Wonder Girl.
Correct.
And then in Teen Titans number 19, cover dated February 1969, they were joined by whom? Who is the 5th original member of the Teen Titans?
I'm going to guess Speedy.
Correct. Speedy, Green Arrow's
Roy Harper.
Not quite yet heroin-loving sidekick.
Exactly.
2 years after he joined the Teen Titans.
All those great Nick Carty era Titan covers and stuff. Good stuff. And I remember I interviewed Marv Wolfman about the Teen Titans creation, and because obviously he had such the great run in the '80s. But he's like, yeah, Mr. Tornado. I never understood that. It's their first villain. That made no sense.
Marv really is a hoot. He's a delightful guy. I did a con in Mexico City with him, and just hanging out with him and hearing him tell stories was freaking terrific.
Cool.
John the Foghorn is a 1951 Ray Bradbury short story that was very loosely adapted into what 1953 giant monster classic with special effects by Ray Harryhausen?
Was that it that conquered the world?
No. It is The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
Of course. Wow. Nice. Jeez.
That's right. Teen Titans 19 was only 12 cents.
Cheap.
John, what is the name of the cartoon bull that is the mascot for X-Acto, Probond, and Crazy Glue products?
Elmo. Is Elmer the correct
Elmer
answer?
is correct.
Okay, because because there was Elsie the cow, and yeah,
like a brother. It's there's a weird cinematic cartoon mascot universe going on.
It's best that we don't know about their relationship.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, that I have no interest in. Question number 6. All right. John, Grant Morrison has said that he took the name for this Batman villain from the mythical sculptor whose beautiful statue came to life, serving also as the title of a very famous George Bernard Shaw play. What Grant Morrison created Batman villain is he talking about?
Title from a George Bernard Shaw play. Batman villain created by Grant Morrison.
He's appeared in some other. He was in Gotham, like most Batman characters were.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I bailed on Gotham early.
I've never seen episodes. They shot it all around my neighborhood.
Oh, that's insane. Shoot. I'm going to kick myself and not remember.
It only uses part of the name. That helps.
No, I'm not sure.
Professor Pig.
Oh, the great Professor Pig. Yes, who, by the way, Hysham got correct. Brian got correct. Very good. No, Jeff Quarter, it wasn't Columbo. Foghorn, no.
Yeah,
that's funny. I was wondering.
Pygmalion is the mythological character with the Y. That's
sure. Yes. I love Professor Pig. It is really one of the great additions to the Batman universe that Grant did.
Absolutely.
And yeah, great character.
Absolutely. Question number 7. Remember, number 10 is what is the theme?
Right.
Number 7, John. This creator-owned superhero comic about a trickster spirit taking human form debuted at Eclipse. It was published by Marvel's Epic line for 16 issues. It was created by Steve Englehart and Marshall Rogers, most famous for doing Batman, and Silver Surfer also. But this series is perhaps best remembered for featuring the first published artwork by Mr. Todd McFarlane. John, in what epic series did Todd McFarlane have his first published artwork?
And it was created by Englehart and Rogers.
Englehart and Rogers.
And it debuted in Eclipse for Eclipse Comics?
Correct.
Shoot.
About a trickster spirit taking human form. Animal trickster spirit.
I have a feeling, too, I know what the final question is going to, or the final answer is going to be. But
maybe that'll help you figure out this answer.
I know you would think. So he's a trickster character that takes animal form.
Other way around.
Oh,
he's an animal character that takes
trickster form. Human form.
What are and we got any luck? Peanut gallery. Let's help us out.
Oh, there we go. I bet they are correct. Is it Coyote?
It is Coyote. Correct. Is the epic comic where Todd McFarlane first got his. And I believe McFarlane illustrated this strip that was a backup in Coyote called Scorpio Rose that was originally supposed to be Madame Xanadu.
Oh, I remember Scorpio Rose, and I didn't know that was originally a Madame Xanadu pitch. That's fantastic. God, Matt Wagner, amazing Madame Xanadu run.
Yep.
In the 2000s. I love that book.
Amy Reader. Right?
What's that?
Wasn't it Amy Reader who did?
Oh, yes. Yeah, drawing it.
Yeah, she's terrific. Her Amethyst is terrific.
Yes, both counts.
Question number 8. John, Starhawk is a Guardians of the Galaxy character who first appeared in Steve Gerber and Sal Buscema's Defenders run. He is a composite being to the point where I almost put him in the decoupling round, but didn't because I wanted to use him here. He is a composite being made up of two other characters, Alita and Stakar. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Alita was played by Michelle Yeoh, and Stakar was played by whom?
Oh.
Who played Stakar?
Were they the Reavers, that group in the second movie?
Were they? Were they, John?
I'm gonna guess Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone is what I was looking for.
All right, that's what I thought, man. All right, that's. You know, Yandu. Sorry, what? I didn't. Man, and I forget the name of the actor that plays Yandu, but when Michael Rooker, when Michael Rooker has better diction than you, Sly, go back to take some diction classes, my guy. Oh, Yandu.
So,
and here we go. KO got it right, and Isham got it right. Very good.
That's right. John, I teased in our pre-show banter, about a Mad TV question.
Oh, yes, you did.
And here it comes. The last genuine question of the round. This is number 9.
All right.
John, Phil LaMarr.
The great Phil LaMarr.
Is a beloved voice actor known for such roles as Jon Stewart in Justice League, Hermes in Futurama, and his numerous film and TV roles like on Mad TV.
Samurai Jack as well.
However, most audiences were introduced to him in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, in which he played an undercover hood who gets his head blown off accidentally by John Travolta in the back seat of a car.
I know that.
John, what is the name of the character Phil LaMarr plays in Pulp Fiction?
Marvin.
Wow.
I've only released the audio, and I intend this weekend, and I hopefully will do this before Monday, release the video of my conversation with Phil. But that's what I said. I'm like, dude, you're Marvin. I'm like, that's amazing.
Now, I think it would usually be a hard question because he's obviously a semi-minor character, but in the third act of Pulp Fiction, they say it about 700 times.
Well, and his head blows up in the back seat, and then leads to the wonderful scene with Keitel as Winston Wolfe.
That's right.
And how we gonna make the car and everything. So, all right, let's see. KO got it right.
That's right. Oh, very nice.
I just shot Marvin in the face. Isham got it right. Richard got it right. Yeah.
Very nice. Nice.
Phil comes on. Susan Eisenberg, my dear friend, animated Wonder Woman from the Justice League cartoons.
I met her briefly at I had dinner with Phil. Phil went to Yale, believe it or not, with Greg Pak.
Oh, that's fantastic, man! By the way, I'm glad you mentioned Greg because I got to get Greg doing a video sooner than later. And I keep thinking, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to invite Greg on. So Susan, I had met Phil last summer at Terrificon in Connecticut, Mohegan Sun show, my buddy Mitch Halleck's show.
Right, you were going to hook me up until.
Oh yeah. Well, again, when conventions come back, we'll make this happen.
That's right. Live, that would be fun. Trivia live. Sorry.
No, it's all good. That would be great. You're 100% right about that. So Susan, I met Phil, but Susan's like, hey, I'm sure you don't remember, but John met you at Terrificon, whatever. Come on his show. And, he's a massive comic book fan, obviously.
Phil, yeah.
Yes. And so we're getting ready to record our conversation. And he's like, hey, man, you talk to everybody. And I'm like, pardon me? And he goes, well, I went to your website and I went down your list of guests. He's like, wow, Howard Chaykin, Matt Fraction. I'm like, oh, God, man, thanks. He goes, I listened to those. I'm like, Jesus, Phil. I'm like, you don't have to listen to my crap, only when I'm talking to you. And we had such a great conversation.
He's terrific.
Match, 100% match. Yes, sir.
But sadly, I'm not a nice guy. So
no.
I must ask, and I don't know, should we throw this before you say it? Should we throw it to the Peanut Gallery first? Peanut Gallery, have you guessed the theme of the mystery round? What is the theme of the mystery round? So I feel like John's got it.
White rabbit, duck, Marvin.
Rabbit, duck,
coyote,
Horn, Elmer, pig, coyote, Sylvester.
That's right, Elmer and pig. Yes,
Marvin.
I think we know.
Let's
see if, and I'll say it now before the answers start coming in. That would be the Looney Tunes pantheon.
Correct. The Looney Tunes character, Marvin the Martian, Sylvester the Cat, Wile E. Coyote, Porky Pig.
Yes, Sylvester the Cat.
Longhorn Leghorn, Speedy Gonzales, Daffy Duck. I cheated a little bit because obviously Bugs' name is not Bugs Rabbit, it's Bugs Bunny. But
that's funny, Quarter. I was thinking it might be initially Animal Farm, but when we got to Elmer and certainly Marvin, I'm like, oh yeah, it's definitely Looney Tunes. So I was thinking it might be Orwell's Animal Farm, which would have been great as well. But yeah, Coyote was like kind of like, oh, okay, now I know where we're going, because I didn't remember him from Orwell's Animal Farm.
That's right.
So hilarious. Why are there 3 people that have never been, or 3 people that have never been in my kitchen?
That's the Johnny Carson, right?
That's the Cheers reference. Absolutely, man. That's very funny. When he was on Jeopardy, that's right. But that is correct. They have never been in my kitchen. Oh, that's nice. Kale Wass says, Fred, Exo Man of War, the best.
Thank you. Never really did Exo Man of War.
Oh, I was going to ask you. I was going to say, is that new? I assume that you
comics I've done, but I appreciate it. I literally wrote one backup story in Exo Man War number 50. So if you're referring to the Time Walker story that was an Exo Man of War number 50, thank you.
All right, very nice. What Valiant characters have you done again?
I have done.
Did you do Ninjak?
Did not do Ninjak. I did Arthur Armstrong. I did Time Walker.
Yes.
And Generation Zero. I did the Geomancer.
Oh yeah, and then Generation Zero. I remember certainly. Yeah.
Yes, that was it.
And Geomancer. Okay, very nice.
And Skylords. Excuse me. I also did Skylords. That was last thing I did.
Oh yeah, Skylords. Okay, sure.
But you did very well in this round. The Peanut Gallery helped off.
Do you want to answer? Let's see if we can answer John Hedgenberger's question. Name 5 films with Karloff that have black in the title.
Well, the Black Cat's the obvious one. That's
Black Cat, Black Monday.
Universals.
I remember Black Monday.
Black Monday. I mean, there's a lot of them, right?
This is 5. We got 2. What other ones? Did he do a Black Magic? I'm not sure. Didn't he do a one called Black Legion, which wasn't a monster movie of some sort? I thought was man. I always loved discovering in that Frankenstein era the Karloff character actor movies that he did. And right, it's amazing. So, God, a couple Edward G. Robinson gangster movies.
Sure,
and that's Karloff.
Yeah. Well, he was in the. That's where they discovered him for Frankenstein, right? Was it Robinson or was it James Cagney? He was in a prison riot scene.
Oh, that's right. Oh, Black Sabbath.
Enemy? Was he in the Public Enemy? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Gee, I don't know. Boy, I don't know. He might have been Black Sabbath and Black Room, John says.
Okay. So heard of Black Sabbath.
And I mentioned Black Friday. I do remember that.
Very nice. One of my favorite Don Cheadle TV shows. I didn't know Karloff was in that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's that 3. That's 3 that you named, and Black Cat is 4. So we need a 5th movie from The Black Room, 1935. Thank you, Jeffrey. Very good. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff.
That's some good stuff.
So, that was the finish, right, Fred? That's our quiz.
That was all 4 rounds.
I loved it.
Recap John's scores. He got 4 out of 8 on decoupling. 5 out of 10 on Who to Win in a Fight Rotten Tomatoes edition. He got 6 out of 8 in Wardrobe Malfunction. And he got 7 out of 3. Very impressive on the mystery round. So,
oh, wow.
That easily erases your deficit from before. So I think I got to do the math, but I think you're up by 1 or 2 at this point.
Thank you, League. You did it for me. You helped me out because I certainly would have sucked on my own, but that's good. I'm glad we're all playing together in this. That's a good idea, Fred. That should be the concept. That it's.
I think they really had you on the costumes. I feel like you need a bigger screen, or I should start doing audio rounds instead of.
Well, and if we're going to play all together as a team, I should put the League of Word Balloon Listeners icon above Fred.
I like it.
So very nice.
League, I like it.
That's excellent, man. Hilarious, Fred. That was awesome. So yeah, Fred, I won't keep you if you don't want to discuss Star Trek Discovery, but I find it problematic.
I'm. You know what? I do want to discuss Star Trek.
It'd be my pleasure.
What did you not care for?
Where to begin?
Sure.
Honestly, I don't see the need.
Actually, let's do baseline first. Let's set original series aside.
Sure.
Post original series, what's your favorite Star Trek?
in order: Deep Space Nine, then Next Generation,
Okay,
then Voyager. But Voyager, I would say, is a tie with Enterprise. And unfortunately, in both of the new shows, for different reasons,
okay,
Discovery and Picard are at the bottom because I find, first of all, and again, I say this as
to be totally frank, I love original series and I love Deep Space Nine. I have not really seen a lot of the other ones. I'm not a huge Next Generation guy.
Okay, and I think
that's the extent of my Star Trek fandom.
Deep Space Nine for me was always
it had the best cast. I think it had the best writing and it had the best set.
Exactly, I agree with all of that. So my problems with Discovery start with the conceit that Michael Burnham had to be Spock's sister. I like the idea that she was raised by Vulcans. Sure. I would have liked to have seen them expand the Vulcan planet and culture by having another Vulcan raising a human. Sure. And wouldn't that have been interesting to have conversations between that Vulcan and Sarek about the human dynamic as two men that have been exposed to it through marriage and through having to raise somebody? And because to me,
I don't disagree, but it's not a huge impediment to me.
Well, I understand, but to me, making Sarek literally the only Vulcan that understands humans.
I guess I should also back that by saying I love James Frain. He played Cromwell in The Tudors. I love that actor. So when he showed up as Sarek, I was kind of all in. So I was sort of that I may be overly swayed because of his Frain playing Sarek.
Well, we can focus on Sarek for two reasons. One, having Sarek as literally or seemingly this only Vulcan that understands humans, it's almost like saying Martin Luther King was the only civil rights freedom fighter. And I'm like, you're missing an opportunity again to expand the Vulcan planet.
The only non-racist Vulcan.
Yeah. And also, I found Frain's characterization of Sarek inconsistent with where he was as Mark Lenard in both the original series and in the original series movies. My favorite line from Star Trek, and I got to remember which one it is. It's 4, when they save Earth and they come back and Sarek and Spock have the conversation.
Wait, can I say what it is? I know what your favorite line is. Can I say it?
Sure.
Ooh. Ooh.
No.
Ooh.
No.
It's the whale song, right?
No, not at all. When Sarek is like, my son, it's good to see you, Father. He's like, these humans that you associate with, perhaps I was wrong about, and I'm misquoting. He's like, maybe I was wrong about you joining Starfleet. They are of good character. And Spock goes, they're my friends. And Sarek, in a very aristocratic Vulcan way, is like, yes, of course. And that kind of dismissive, again, he understands humans, but still doesn't understand Spock's fascination with them. Going to Frain in Discovery 25 years earlier in the timeline, right. He is amused by Michael Burnham. And I'm like, I don't think so. And seems to understand humans on a level that his relationship with his birth son isn't there. And that really, dude, I'm telling you, the 50 years of Star Trek continuity weighs heavy on me in the most positive way. So right. These different interpretations of what happened before the original series, I'm like, it didn't happen that way. Even for them to be so ignorant and I like the pilot for Discovery. Right. I thought it was really entertaining. But even their ignorance in how to deal with the Klingons, I'm like, what about Archer's encounters with the Klingons? I understand it was 100 years earlier or 80 years earlier, but clearly that's like available to Star Trek or Starfleet. And wouldn't Archer have been debriefed about his encounters with the Klingons? And I just found that information not there, lacking. And I thought, again, I'm like, I'm not buying this.
Well, I mean, I will admit I saw Star Trek 4 in the theater. I remember enjoying it quite a bit. But I kind of leapfrogged all the way over from Deep Space Nine to Discovery without really having seen anything in between. So coming at it as essentially a fresh-faced fan stuck in a hotel room in Austria looking for something to watch on my iPad, I enjoyed it quite a bit. But I hear what you're saying in terms of the continuity. But I just sort of enjoyed the cast, and I thought the Spore drive was fun, and I thought it was fun.
You see, and the Spore Drive, just I'm like, I don't know. And also,
where I agree with you 110% is it is a little frustrating with this idea that they're doing all these prequels. It's like, why not just
set it in the future?
Straightforward, like why?
Yeah,
I guess it's because they wanted to roll out young Spock and all that shit. And I have to admit, once, and I love the guy who plays Pike because I loved Hell on Wheels.
Anson Mount is the best thing. The best thing about Star Trek Discovery is Anson Mount as Christopher.
Okay, that's funny you said that. I actually checked out after the season 2 premiere. Now, granted, I was also coming home to a country where I don't have CBS.
I understand. I look forward to hearing what you think of season 2 when it happens.
I love Anson Mount. Not so much. I actually watched that Humans thing, but like I liked Hell on Wheels as well.
Yeah, Hell on Wheels is great. No, he's a great actor. But I will also say that, again, going back to what you said, in terms of making it a prequel instead of the future, the Klingon xenophobia would have made more sense if it was set in the future and there was somebody in the Klingon homeworld going, we've lost our way. We've become too friendly with other aliens. We've forgotten what makes us Klingon. And that would have been a much stronger argument than...
It's a weird cowardice on the part of the showrunners to think that they can't build a franchise from Star Trek, that they can't dangle in front of the viewer that your old favorites are going to show up, whether it's Kirk or Spock or whoever else.
I agree.
And part of the genius of Deep Space Nine, right, was that they took the Star Trek universe and built on it and added a bunch of stuff to it, and you didn't lose anything. And sure, Worf showed up eventually, and
Yeah, and it only made it better. But I agree with you. And in fact, I like The Next Generation better than you did, but I kind of appreciate it. And even though they had a really clunky first season, there are some good episodes of the first season of Next Gen, but it got better as it progressed. But I appreciated that kind of rule of, hey, let's not refer to the past as little as possible. And that they very gradually kind of, Sarek showing up, and then the great two-parter with Spock unification is so great. But all right, and also, and I say this as a bleeding heart liberal, I think the show is politically woke first, and then we'll tell the stories. And it really bothers me how they kind of, hey, look who we've got in the show. Ooh, look, we're so progressive. And it's like, Star Trek's always been progressive, and they were progressive through their actions rather than shoving it in our face. And and in fact, there was a great Las Vegas panel of all the living doctors of all the shows. And not to pick on Wilson Cruz, the doctor from Discovery, but they went down the row and are like, what do you think makes your show distinct from the other shows? And they got to Wilson Cruz, and he's like, well, it's obviously, and forgive me, I'm putting on the airs, but it's our diversity, obviously. And thank God, man, John, and I forget his Billingsley, from Enterprise, and it's like, I don't know if everyone remembers, but Phlox was bisexual, and everybody started applauding. And he's like, so forgive me, but you're not really, I mean, he didn't say this, I'm paraphrasing, but basically was, guess what? Star Trek's always been progressive, and you didn't really introduce anything new other than going, hey, look, wow, man, we've got gay characters. We've got, it's like, I'm sorry, but these things have been explored in previous Star Treks, and even Kate Mulgrew is like, wow, Gene certainly wasn't as progressive as he could have been. And it's like, I'm sorry, listen, and especially in the current environment where a lot of Me Too stories regarding the comic book world have come out, Gene Roddenberry was no saint. I mean, he was a casting couch producer, and everybody knows it. But in mid-1960s terms, Gene Roddenberry was very fucking progressive. And shame on you, ma'am, for suggesting he wasn't. And to the point of, and I don't know if you know this, Fred.
I'd like to apologize on behalf of Kate Mulgrew for her clearly ill-informed statement.
I was going to say in the pilot, the original pilot of The Cage, all the women are in slacks, and it was the network that's like, "Hey, you got women? Can you put them in short skirts?"
Right.
And Gene Roddenberry's like, "All right, that wasn't my plan, but all right." It just again, They are woke first, and then they try to tell stories.
Well, just to defend it a bit more from I am a casual Star Trek fan. I absolutely don't have I'm not as versed in the continuity as you are. But I just thought Burnham was a great character. I thought Sadiq was
great actor. I really appreciate it.
I thought the whole idea of Jason Isaacs, it was a little complicated, but I thought it kind of worked. That the mirror dimension was invading the mainline dimension was clever, and all that stuff. I thought the spore thing was crazy but fun. I don't have the. And now I'm using the word continuity literally. I don't have the continuity with Star Trek that you did. So jumping fresh. What I liked about it was, and I certainly don't see it as any more or less woke as any other TV show that's currently being produced. I just thought it was fun. I just thought I really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's cool.
I hear your objections, but I just thought it was a breath of fresh air, I guess. I don't know.
No, I understand.
I'm really in the very beginning. I like the idea that she was. I mean, the whole setup where she got court-martial and stuff, I thought was a little contrived, but
good.
I kind of bought it. Like I didn't. At a certain point, I stopped caring that they kind of railroaded this character for no reason.
Well, also, what did she do to get the applause and being redeemed? I'm confused by the way the first season ended, and it's like. What did she accomplish other than? Well, it was all this weird. They put bombs on Kronos. Hey, stop harassing the Federation, or we're going to blow up Kronos. But also, even worse,
that's definitely bumping into the whole prequel of it all, right? Because they've got to set up this sort of.
No, not necessarily. Just
I'm agreeing with you. I think that now I'm sort of remembering the ending got very muddled.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't violate the future history.
That's true. You're right about that. But also, two things about Michelle Yeoh's character. First of all, Prime Universe Giorgio, pre-Mirror Universe. Oh, she's a great captain. And I'm like, and that's based on what? Okay. I don't know. I haven't seen anything. But more importantly, Mirror Giorgio, okay, this is... Forgive the comparison, Space Hitler, cannibal Space Hitler eating the Kelpians, Saru's people, evil Mirror Universe, Giorgio and stuff.
Okay, right.
I don't believe the Federation, because obviously the Admiral that they show is in on the fact that she is the Mirror Universe version of Giorgio, and Sarek is in on it. I'm like, I don't believe, let's put it in original series terms. I don't believe Mirror Kirk is stolen from the Mirror Universe, and it's like, oh, we need this guy because he's so smart and clever and stuff. And I'm like, no, she's a war criminal. She should be under arrest. And I don't believe
Operation Paperclip thing where they're like, fuck it, we'll let you
run Facebook. And I've heard that argument before. I have heard that argument before, and I accept it on that level of discussion. I don't buy it, and I feel that these iterations of Star Trek have dumbed down Starfleet, and what we had in the other iterations, specifically of the Earth people of Starfleet, these are the best and the brightest. This is NASA 300 years in the future and 400 years in the future. And there are more flawed people, and especially when you start watching the short treks and some of the other little avenues that they explore. I don't think Tilly would have made it through the Academy.
But she's a great character, so I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I get it, and that's fine. But I'm just like, all right, whatever. And then it has nothing to. And forgive me, I don't want this to be like, man, you're picking on all the women. The men are invisible. The bridge crew is completely invisible to the point of, as I've name some bridge crew people. Name their characters, please.
Dude, I saw the show in Austria 7 months ago.
I'm sorry. I'm
happy I remember Michael Burnham's name.
I understand, but literally, it's like, okay, I don't know who these people are.
Like, I don't know.
There's Eyepiece Woman.
And again, I think part of what they were trying to do with the show was to sort of get the focus off the bridge, right? I mean, that's sort of the whole point to it. Not the whole point, but
no, but and you're right.
The point was there's 700 people or whatever on the Enterprise or on these ships. Why do we always have to look at the same dozen ranks.
I get it. However, a lot of action happens on the bridge. And it easily could have been, and I'm just going to throw out names, Jones, set the phasers. Simons, warp factor 3. T'Challa, engage. Raise shields. And they never did that, to the point where in that first episode of the second season, Anson Pike has to go, okay, can everyone please tell me your names? Because I don't know you people. And I'm like, thank you. That is for the fans who have been saying, we don't know who these people are. Because I agree with you, Fred. It likely was to show the focus off the bridge, but there were so many action scenes happening on the bridge that outside of Lorca, Burnham, and Saru, we had a bunch of extras, like, all looking shocked and not knowing what to do. And I should know these people's names.
Fair enough. I was actually really turned off by the first episode of the second season, which maybe was more geared towards a more hardcore fan than I am. But fair enough, man.
No,
we're adults. We can disagree on a thing and be friends.
100%. Fred, I had Cully Hamner, David Gallagher. Oh God, I want to get everybody right. I had 6 people on. And I was pretty much the naysayer. And Cully,
you were the lone voice in the wilderness.
Well, Cully kind of agreed with me, but really was more with the other 4. And it's like, hey, I want to have this discussion with no malice intended. It helped me understand what you liked about the show, and you've explained it. But no, I appreciate you giving me my chance to kind of. And
just to be totally straight up, I think the main difference between you and I is that you clearly are.
I'm hardcore.
Hardcore, and I am a casual fan. I am not steeped in the lore at all.
Well, and that's how I feel about Star Wars, where I am more of a casual fan. Although
I can give fuck all about Star Wars. Star Wars is
11
movie franchise with 2 good movies in it. I have no interest in Star Wars whatsoever. And in fact, people are still obsessed with Star Wars. I sort of feel like to me, I put the Star Wars cult and the Trump cult kind of the same.
Oh, that's hilarious.
On the same level, I don't get it. Sure.
But just like Star Trek, I mean, you've had 40 years of, or almost 35 years or whatever of, forgive me, I was told there'd be no math today. But much like Star Trek, I've appreciated the extended universe of the novels and the comics. And we've gotten great Star Wars stories, just like Star Trek stories. And my buddy Rob Burnett that I always refer to, and he's right. He's like, we've had 50 years of great Star Trek novels and comics that they could take story ideas from. And I'm just, I just feel like, especially when they beat their chest and said, oh, no, this is all canon, and this absolutely links up with the old stuff. And it's like, okay, you kind of put it out there. If they had done Galactica and done a reboot, I think a lot of these things would also be like, okay, it's a new version. I have no problem with the changes in Galactica.
The thing I'm 100% behind you on is, why can't the Klingons have this religious awakening in the 26th century or whenever?
I agree.
Why does it have to be this kind of first contact? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
No,
I'm sure there's some story logic to it, but maybe it was because we want to introduce a new character, but we'll link her to the original stuff by having her be this human sister of Spock we've never heard of before. Sure, I don't give a shit enough to really to be as invested in it as. Oh yeah, that is a good episode. That is a good episode.
I didn't mean to interrupt you with the.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. That someone just Googled that, I'm assuming.
The 2 deaths of Gaius Malleus?
That is my Exo Man of War number 50 story.
Oh, there you go. Okay, man.
It took me a while to process that. I thought you were making a Star Trek reference.
I did too, or I thought even a Galactica because of Gaius Belto.
Yes, thank you. It's a great story drawn by my dear pal, Clayton Henry's currently drawing Batman, Superman.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But
reboots, yes.
I hear you. That is definitely an aspect of the show which is annoying.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting point about Sarek's, the consistency of Sarek's portrayal. I had no inkling of that at all.
Because again, I mean, that
I don't care.
That's cool. Hey, God bless you, son. No. But that's the thing. It's like being a fan and everything. There are trajectories for these characters, and I do think Sarek's trajectory from Journey to Babel, the first original series appearance, through Next Generation and his death in Unification. It's like, that is cool, because Sarek really comes from this aristocratic, yeah, I married one of them, but I don't get them, if I can put it in Archie Bunker terms. But and really, I love rewatching Journey to Babel and seeing Sarek and Amanda, and especially Amanda, get under Spock's skin. I'd be like, that's your father. What are you doing?
You wish George Lucas. I mean, you know, it's a little hard to fault him, because I mean the redone digital Star Wars I find just annoying.
Yeah.
But the redone digital Star Trek stuff, the original series, I think is pretty well done.
Well, they made an attempt to capture the feel of the original show, but up the special effects. Oh my God, the Galileo 7, where Spock is in command of the shuttlecraft.
I watched them randomly while it was while on Amazon Prime, I think it was.
Yeah. No, there's a ton of them, man.
I don't know if I saw Galileo 7 was not one of the ones.
That one's great. Or Tomorrow's Yesterday, where they go back to the 60s and they pick up the test pilot. And you see the Enterprise flying in normal, like, skies as opposed to in space. Beautiful stuff.
The episodes I really respond to, for whatever reason, are the ones where they just beam down on some random planet and there's vampires or monsters or some weird problem they've got to deal with. Like, I like that, and I like all the shit on the ship. Like I like everyone else, I think Balance of Power is the best episode, hands down.
That's cool. I just bought. I had it in the '90s. The video game Starfleet Academy.
Okay.
And it's fantastic. And you're a cadet and you're going through scenarios.
Right.
And they redo Balance of Terror, the first Romulan encounter.
Okay.
And they do the Kobayashi Maru, the test that Kirk does as a captain. That's in both the original, or in Wrath of Khan, and also in the first J.J. Abrams 09 movie.
I'm gonna throw a very heretical opinion at you, which is that I very recently saw Wrath of Khan, and I was like, this is not that good. Like, I was just like, no, I get it. Ricardo Montalban's torso is absolutely carrying that whole movie. It's you sort of feel it. I feel like when it's 2.5, it's too, like, so many big action movies, it's too long.
Oh, that's interesting. I love Khan.
And you, to me, when I saw it last year, whenever it was, you really feel that Kirk and, I sort of get the cleverness of it, but Kirk and Khan are never in the same place at the same time. They're always screaming at each other on the comms.
Yep.
Okay. But it's just it's too long. Like, cut that fucking thing down to 90 minutes.
Oh, I love it. Here's
down.
Now, I'm assuming that Freddie doesn't know about this, but I'll throw this up, KO. What's your take on Midnight Edge conspiracy? Midnight's Edge is they're a commentating YouTube channel, and they put out a lot of videos, yay and nay, about various films and TV shows. And they are very convinced that the new Star Trek and also the JJ movies, because of that initial split of Viacom into CBS and Viacom, they had to be at least 25% different from the original Star Trek shows and the spinoffs. And or Lucille Ball's ghost is going to come after them. Like, no, but because Paramount was making the movies,
okay,
and CBS retained the TV rights. So to make those JJ movies, they had to make it different. Then when Discovery came, and it was a division of JJ's company, Secret Hideout is a division of Bad Robot. Okay. They're in charge of Discovery and Picard. That they had to change things again by at least 20, like literally a number, 25%. So that's why you had these weird little adjustments of uniforms, the look. I personally think it was purely a franchising thing, because JJ wanted to put out new toys of everything, and that's where the money is, as we all know, is licensing. That's why 3PO in Force Awakens has a red arm, and JJ can make money off of 3POs with red arms versus golden armed 3PO.
Okay.
So I think that's where the difference is.
I've also worked in a franchise to know people like changing shit just to do it.
Sure, and make new toys. But it's interesting because the Discovery and Picard shows, from a merchandising standpoint, have been a failure. Those toys aren't selling. Nobody wants a Michael Burnham doll, whatever.
Well, the shows aren't for children, so it seems strange to me that that they leaned so heavily into that. If that was supposed to be I guess they just assumed they were tapping into the same geek market that gets the nostalgia toys and everything else.
I mean, that's the thing, because obviously there's the adult toy market who can really afford the toys and still buy the statues and the action figures and things like that.
Well, I mean, John, don't forget I worked on Amazing Spider-Man when, the Mephisto destroyed the Mary Jane.
Right, Brand New Day. Yep.
And for the entire time, there was a very angry contingent of fans that was just screaming death threats at us all the time because, and they had all these conspiracy theories about why they gave up on the Mary Jane, marriage, and it was just banana pants. So I have a certain degree of sympathy for the new Star Trek people because I think sometimes, was Brand New Day I like that.
I certainly hope not, and I don't. Yeah, I was going to say, unless Fred's annoyed with me, I don't think it's certainly not on my part, and I don't believe it on Fred's, or we would still be talking.
I guess my point is that in they would, for example, one of the things the haters would always do on the message boards would be to point out that the Amazing Spider-Man Cirque top numbers were so much lower than the JMS.
I remember that.
Numbers when really ignoring the fact that all the comic numbers just kind of do this anyway. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And as evidence that this was a mistake, but I think that what folks who don't work in these franchises need to sort of appreciate to a certain degree is that you're under a lot of pressure to. It's like political campaigns, right? Where you have your base of people who are always going to vote for party X, which is terrific. But in every election, you need to expand that somehow. Something our president does not understand.
No.
In order to win the election, you need to expand beyond your base. And I assume that was absolutely the logic of
Brand New Day.
A Brand New Day. I mean, people forget that Spider-Man, in terms of actual time, real world time, was married to Mary Jane longer than he wasn't.
I'm with you. Yeah.
The comics.
Yeah.
And I remember I dropped Spider-Man not long after in the high school when they married Mary Jane, not so much because it wasn't like a nerd rage thing necessarily, but I just thought it was kind of dumb that Peter Parker, who was this kind of nebbishy, constantly broke dude, was married to a rich supermodel. It just seemed like a ridiculous, it was like when that alien joined the Flintstones, right? What was his name?
Kazoo.
Yeah, that's what it's like. Change the whole thing, right? And to a certain extent, maybe that's how people feel about Discovery, right? It's the good.
It's the Kazoo of Star Trek.
I thought banging Mary Jane was the Kazoo of Spider-Man. Clearly, I was wrong because they stuck with it forever. They stuck with it so long that I didn't pay any attention to Spider-Man until I got hired to write Spider-Man.
Freddie, I'm so with you.
For me dropping the book to me writing the book.
The Clone Saga made me drop Spider-Man in the 90s. I agree.
I was gone 10 years after that.
The one wrinkle of Brand New Day that I did disagree with was taking away Peter's relationship with Betty. That was part of the original stories. And all of a sudden
somewhat with that in Brand New Day.
Well, I'll tell you, man, because I knew women that didn't go to college but immediately went to the workforce after high school, and because I know that when hearing Joe Quesada talk about it, it's like, well, it's kind of inappropriate because she's older, and and it's like, all you had to do was say that Betty didn't go to college; she went to the workforce right away. Because I know very successful women that didn't go that I've worked with in the past that didn't go to college and had great radio and marketing careers. And it's like,
you lost me. What was the issue with Betty? What was Joe
saying? Now she's an older sister, and it was like, oh, they never dated in the new Brand New Day continuity. And I'm like, you guys are the ones that are making it inappropriate. They could have been.
When I wrote Spider-Man comics, they used to date, absolutely.
because there was I just remember.
Also, John, keep in mind there's 7 writers.
Well, no, and I hear it, Freddie. Cool.
Who doesn't mean that someone else.
Good. I mean, again, I heard this like officially from Joe while he was defending Brand New Day and some of the changes, and he's like, "We felt that ... So I'm glad you are like, no, they dated because yeah, I mean, it just really. I just remember some specific stories during Brand New Day where Betty was like older sister to Peter rather than former girlfriend.
Well, I mean, kudos to Steve Wacker and Tom Brennan, who are the primary architects of trying to keep 7. I mean, because each one of us were working on it was just a nightmare, I'm sure, from a traffic standpoint of keeping all the storylines, consistent. So it wouldn't surprise me if Joe said that, but maybe didn't realize that the rest of us didn't get the memo. You know what I mean? Like that's
sure
me.
KOS, was there ever a chance that they would have had Spidey and MJ divorced? I'm going to say no. I believe
no, because Joe's position is that a divorced superhero. So the whole point of making Spider-Man single was to basically de-age him without de-aging him. So to have a divorced Spider-Man in their minds was to age him too much.
Frey, remind me, weren't you the creator of Mr. Negative, by the way?
I'm not. Dan Slott is.
Oh, Dan created Mr. Negative.
However, I wrote his origin. This came up at the last round of trivia, but I did it. That was Dan's. Dan literally called me on the phone and told me what to write and what the origin.
I see. Okay. All right. And once again, my short time, this is where I know my Alzheimer's is clearly kicking in. We did discuss this in the last episode. But no, there's a lot about Brand New Day that I loved, and you're right, man. God, corralling all you guys and making it work for the couple years that it ran, it was like, great job. And man, I'll tell you, Bob Gale, I think never gets enough credit for his Marvel work in general. And that doesn't surprise me. He's a great guy. So, very nice, Jesse. I like the Vulcan salute. Thank you.
So my point is that like, so I don't, with all the respect, everybody who doesn't like Discovery, great. But I don't have a lot of patience for like the conspiracy theories about
why things are different.
Yeah, or like JJ demanded that they have different variations so they get a part of the merchandise. Frankly, for all I know, that's true. But being inside the sausage factory, I can tell you that a lot of this stuff is just we are dissatisfied with the level of interest in the franchise. So we're going to try to change it in such a way where we can retain most of the legacy fans, but we've got to add new ones or this thing is not going to survive. Well,
that's why, I mean, I know there will never be a head count of old Star Trek fans that like Discovery and old ones that don't. It is interesting. And man, I really, when you see Discovery, we don't have to do it on the air. I would love to hear your thoughts on how they've portrayed young Spock, because
what I saw on the season premiere, I was not impressed.
Well, and again, they go down a rabbit hole that even post season 2, they've had a couple short treks or one short trek that they explored Spock in one of those short episodes, and there's a fascination of the, without spoiling, of the cage, the original pilot. Okay. And there's that great scene where Pike and Spock are on Talos 4, and they go by the vibrating leaves, and they stop them, and then they start them. The leaves start vibrating, and they look at each other, and they both have big smiles on their faces, and they're like, Michael Chabon has written articles about, we've got to explore that, because that is a character trait that changes from the time of the cage to the original series. And there's got to be an explanation. And it's like, no, there doesn't. It was the pilot. They hadn't figured out the character yet. Did you notice that the captain was different in later series than the pilot? Well, you noticed that? And also, did you watch the animated series? We didn't. And by the way, I would put the animated series above the bottom and probably even above Voyager, because I got to tell you, man, those Filmation guys, you can say what you want about their limited animation, but from a writing standpoint, that's the 4th season of Star Trek. Right. It really is. And I even saw Lou Scheimer, the Walt Disney of Filmation, his last San Diego, and he's like, as far as we were concerned, yeah, we were making a cartoon show, but we were making Star Trek first and foremost.
I want to read this book for the comic book history of animation. Tomorrow's did a book on a biography of him, but unfortunately it's out of print, and I'm trying to.
I don't know if it's on. Oh, and I don't know. I guess it's probably not on Kindle then. And then if you go to Tomorrow,
it is. I'm holding out for the print version.
Okay, because the photos are amazing. Andy Mangels. Andy Mangels, who's a great.
I don't need it for a couple months.
What's that?
I personally don't need it for a couple months, so I can wait.
I understand. Andy Mangels wrote it, and in addition to writing that book, Andy actually wrote a great Star Trek novel that's in, as far as timeline of Star Trek, it's after the first motion picture, but before Wrath of Khan. And it's a very good in continuity story. And it even touches back to when McCoy, one of the original series episodes, it's called For I Have Touched the Sky and the World is Hollow. And he goes on this planet. He thinks he's dying and he's going to live on this planet. And the empress of this planet loves McCoy and he's got a love story going on. They go back and they revisit that in this new book. So Andy is steeped in Star Trek.
What annoyed me about the arrival of Pike in Discovery was it was, to me, very clearly like, I have been sent by the fans to fix this show. And someone who enjoyed Discovery, I was like, fuck you, dude. Like, I was just like, no thanks.
And you see, again, I'm in the camp of,
hello, I'm teleported in from Fanland, and I'm here to tell you guys to shape up.
Dude, and again, I will not spoil, there are some significant Pike moments in season 2 that really were like, oh, thank God, they honored the continuity and integrity of Pike as previously depicted. It is only in the pilot as far as on film, but there have been a lot of books. There was a great Marvel comic series that explored the Pike years with Spock, and it was only 17 issues, but it was very good.
Only 17 issues.
Well, I know.
You were like, oh my God.
There was like when IDW had, well, they still have the license. They released one of those soft cover anthologies of, like I love the Indiana Jones ones that they did, that IDW did. But yeah, it's a great Star Trek collection, and they're good Pike Spock stories. And yeah, there's just because again, even in the JJ movie, I think in general, Bruce Greenwood's portrayal of Pike was at least consistent from a character standpoint. I liked it.
That was in the just straight up the 09 one, right?
It's in 09, and then in Star Trek Into Darkness, he's in the first act of that movie.
I saw the third one, which I did not like at all.
Well, Into Darkness is even worse. I thought Beyond was okay coming off of Into Darkness.
I watched on the plane, and actually I watched it. This is like the least ideal way to watch a movie. I was watching it on a plane. I was flying back from a con in Seattle.
Sure.
And it was the 2016 election day. I was flying back.
Oh.
And
like it wasn't depressing enough that day.
Buffalo Bills just played the Seahawks on Monday Night Football. The entire back half of my plane was all Buffalo Bills fans. We're like, Trump! And they were all jizzing on each other and, humping and ripping their shirts off and stuff. And I'm trying to watch Star Trek Beyond. I'm just like, wait, why does Idris Elba now look like Idris Elba before he was an alien? I have no idea.
Well, and then what a waste to have the great Idris Elba and literally 3/4 of the movie and 4/5 of the movie.
Face,
yeah, man, it's like, oh my God, it's like F. Murray Abraham being in Star Trek Insurrection, and it's like, what are you doing, man? You got F. Murray Abraham. Let him be F. Murray Abraham, for Christ's sake.
It was not, and I suppose I should maybe give Star Trek Beyond another chance because I was not watching it under the most ideal movie watching conditions.
And I'll tell you, Zachary Quinto as Spock disappointed me in those movies. They made him too emotional, and if you make Spock too emotional, he disappears, and McCoy wins. Because then it's
that's what annoyed me at the handful of scenes I saw of Discovery season 2 was that they just were just like, I don't know what I read this whole New Yorker essay where Shaban is talking about how much he loves Spock, and I'm like, I'm not seeing any of that.
I won't name names, but I've talked to other creators who I really respect, and I'm like, Michael Chabon is a brilliant writer, and I am happy to advocate the brilliance of Michael Chabon, except for when it comes to Star Trek. And I think his instincts couldn't be more wrong. That New Yorker essay explains it. And again, man, I hope you do watch the second season of Discovery, because I would really be interested.
I don't want to. Well, the other thing is that what I liked about, just setting aside your own personal taste, I thought the first season of Discovery told a very distinct story. You may not like that story, but it's very much got a beginning, middle, and end.
True.
I also love Jason Isaacs. He's terrific.
I was about to say, my man.
He's great. Michelle Yeoh. I'm a huge Michelle Yeoh stan. We actually had a Michelle Yeoh related trivia question tonight. That's how much.
That's true. Yes, we did.
Is
it you? I always thought it was Yo, but is it you?
I don't know.
All right, because Yeoh is Yeoh is how you spell it.
Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, I always thought it was Michelle Yeoh, but I could be wrong. And I'm glad you mentioned Jason Isaacs.
I love her, no matter how her name is pronounced.
I love Captain Lorca, and I thought that was. I mean, I'm sure some people thought it got creepy, but he's a villain, so it should get creepy the way his trajectory was. But I thought Lorca was a fantastic captain. Yeah. And when I didn't know where the show was going, I really enjoyed his performance, except for the fact that he had a tribble in his office and he had a bowl of fortune cookies. And it's like, why aren't there 1,000 tribbles in this office? Because that's how they multiply, but was by eating.
Wasn't the tribble like in a glass case or something?
Yeah, but he was still alive. Well, I mean, you might be right. That might be true. But whatever. It's that's interesting. Isham says Into Darkness was a wasted use of Khan. I completely agree with that. And then Cumberbatch in particular, again, having much like Idris Elba, you got Benedict Cumberbatch. What are you doing? Wrong. And also, man, I'll save it if you ultimately see Into Darkness. But here's a spoiler-free point. Alice Eve, who's a lovely actress, a very beautiful actress, has that one underwear shot. There's changing to get into environment suits to go on a planet. And she tells Chris Pine to turn around while she's changing, and he turns to look, and she's totally in her underwear. She's like, turn around. And it's like, oh, fuck you. I'm a red-blooded American man. Yes, I love seeing Alice Eve in the Sports Illustrated pose, but really didn't need it for Star Trek. Thank you. It's like, come on. And I'm saying that as a liberal even, and like, no, come on. Shame on you. That's terrible. That's gratuitous at its worst.
Sounds like that. There's lots of things to be annoyed at Into Darkness about.
Well, and everybody go online now and look for the Alice Eve picture if you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm sure it's easy to find.
Protecting yourself for the rest of the Darkness.
And anyway, but Freddie, I love that we went into Star Trek. God bless you, son. I'm
like I said, I would take Star Trek over Star Wars any day of the week. But still, I've never seen Voyager. I've never seen Enterprise. I've seen probably 75% of the movies. I really like original series. I've seen a bunch of New Generation. I think it's lit really terribly. Like, I know that's a really petty thing to say, but it's hard to get over how crappy the lighting in S is. And I love Deep Space Nine. Because I was working at Carousel Mall in Syracuse, New York. When I came home from work, working in a toy store, it was the only thing watchable on television when you only had the rabbit ears.
That's awesome.
I very much love all those characters, and the cast is terrific.
In Chicago, they'd play on Saturday afternoons, and during baseball season, we'd get screwed as Star Trek fans for Cub games. And a lot of times, and it was okay, but until that last season, that second half of the last season is so epic. And the way they connected that into one long story, I thought was just amazing. And during that time, it would be like the final moments of the show, and the crawl would suddenly come up, and it would be, catch the next episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine at a special time this Friday night at 11:30, as opposed to Saturday at 5:30. And you'd be like, thank God. Yes, thank God we had VCRs, because seriously, it's like, okay, great. I got to reprogram my VCR. No problem. I'll get it.
Yeah, my father's whole side of the family is Cubs fans, and we always go to whenever they kick the Mets' ass, it's rough. So,
dude, I miss us being in the same division, because I loved the Cub Met rivalry, and it still exists. But it's really old timers. Otherwise, we're like, wow, what's the big deal? They're in different divisions. It's
when we destroyed them in 2015, it was beautiful. But it's been downhill ever since then, frankly.
Oh, dude. I mean, seriously, I was 4 years old in '69, and I remember that
was '73 was the Black Cap, right? Or was it
'69? It was '69. Okay. Yeah. Oh no, and I really got to know a lot of those '60s and '70s Cubs which was just a thrill for me. Ron Santo and Billy Williams and Ernie Banks and all those guys. Good, Fergie Jenkins. Honestly, it was just like a thrill for me because they were my childhood heroes. And yeah, man, especially God Santo. I loved Santo. He's such a good
Are you a
guy.
basketball guy at all, John?
A basketball guy?
Yeah.
Well, tangentially, obviously, during the Bulls run. I watched Last Dance. Is that where you're going?
Well, I'm doing in September, but we'll do trivia before that, of course. In September, out comes the comic book Story of Basketball, which I wrote, and John Cooper drew. It's a comic book I did.
Is that for 10 Speed? Which publisher's making that? I figured that sounded like a 10 Speed project. They are great. Their stuff is great. We'll definitely talk about that when you do it. And I do appreciate basketball's history, but I have to admit,
well, in Chicago, there's one period.
No, but even prior to that, like Ray Meyer was the great DePaul University in Chicago.
Okay, sure.
For decades, basketball coach, and he would coach college all-star teams playing the Harlem Globetrotters in the 50s.
Very nice. Harlem Globetrotters, as I'm sure you know, are from Chicago, not Harlem.
That is correct. And Abe Saperstein, knowing that there would be a great connection because of the black culture of Harlem, properly named them the Harlem Globetrotters.
They did not on the globe. They wandered around Indiana.
Their history is incredible and would really be worth a graphic novel in itself.
Right.
I would talk to Ray about those years with the Globetrotters. Also, Will Chamberlain, who was a Globetrotter off season from playing in the league and stuff, and got great stories from Wilt as well. So I really do. And also, my God, the great thrill, the biggest sports thrill that I've had on this podcast was interviewing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar a couple of years ago.
Oh, sure.
Oh my God, what a genius!
The Mycroft book, was it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Titan sent me the press release for that, and I'm like, "Can I interview Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?" They're like, yeah, we think we can make that happen." And I always tell this story. His people, Jabbar's people, are like, "Hey, we don't mean to interfere with your interview. Could you give us a general idea of some of the questions you might be asking, just so we can let Kareem know, like, what to think about?"
Right.
And I'm like, I saw him in San Diego. Because, there was a proper prose Mycroft Holmes novel, and then the next year was the graphic novel.
Yes.
And it was a separate story. So I see him at San Diego, and he's like, "Hey, I'm an old school nerd. I mean, I learned how to read by reading comic books." And it was totally like showing his bona fides and everything that, no, I'm serious about this. And I'm like, I want to I'm like, because all my friends in sports radio are like, he gets really bored with the same questions, even Airplane and Bruce Lee stuff. He's over that.
Sure.
So you really got to hit him with stuff that he doesn't normally talk about. So I'm like, I want to talk about where did he buy his comics? I want to talk to him about who his favorite characters were. Did he have favorite writers or artists? And I go, also, I'm a massive jazz fan, and I really want to talk to him about his love of jazz. And I get this very short email back from his people going, "This is great. He's going to love this." And we only talked for a half hour. And I had him from moment one, and he's a big heavy metal magazine fan, and even would bring heavy metal magazines to his workouts with the Lakers. And in the locker room, they'd like see in his locker a couple of heavy metal magazines and be like, "What are you doing, man?" And it's like, you guys just don't know. And he is as crazy as I am about Star Trek. He is about the alien mythos.
Oh,
and he hated Prometheus and the other prequels, and he's just like, "What the hell are they doing?" And I'm crying laughing. It was so great. He's not wrong at all. So,
fair enough. Yeah, he seems like a really interesting guy.
He's amazing. Freddie, I know it's late. I don't want to keep you.
We hit the 3:03:03 mark, but yeah. Probably wrapping up, right?
No, and I am. I'm keeping you from Crystal and a late night hangout that you want to do with your wife. So honestly, Freddie, this is amazing.
So we'll do it in a couple weeks once I come up with some more questions. But
man. Absolutely. No, I love.
You've erased your deficit.
What's that?
With the help of the Peanut Gallery, you've erased your deficit. With the help of the League, I should call them. I apologize.
The League of Word Balloon Listeners, indeed.
Listeners, you've erased your deficit and are now in the black.
That's excellent, man. No, this is great. I love the Trek tangent. I love the Spider-Man tangent, and even the Kareem tangent. That's great, man. I'm excited for you for History of Basketball. I bet it's going to be great.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Let me offline. I'll get you an arc somehow.
Oh, that'd be terrific, man.
It looks done. It's been
I'd love to see it. No, and 10 Speed has been incredibly kind to me, And maybe, hopefully, you know, they're like, hey, if you ever want to write something, and I'm like, I'll be talking to you guys.
Nice.
So we'll see.
Them your name and address. We'll see.
Okay, bud.
I'll check again. It's a Google spreadsheet.
No. Oh, you need my? I mean, no. I'll email.
No. I'm assuming you live in the same place. I already have your address. So
yes. Oh, that's what you're saying. Excuse me.
Yeah.
All right. Because I was talking over you. I apologize.
No. It's all good.
Freddie, you're the best. God bless you. Have a good evening. Have a great weekend. My best to Crystal, and take care.
Thanks.
Fred Van Lente, everyone. Be well. Thank you. And thank you all for another great Word Balloon Live. Thank you for hanging out. Fred's one of my favorite people in comics, and I'm really glad that we have this kind of friendship that he on his own is like, hey, do you mind if I do trivia? I'm like, do I mind? That's brilliant. I love it. So, yeah, we're all going to be a team, I think, moving forward when Fred is the MC of trivia. Look forward to a horror edition of Word Balloon Lockdown Trivia with, and could be Freddie joining us for that. But I've already been in contact with Mike Marisi and Tim Seeley. I want to see if Donnie Cates wants to play as well. Maybe Ryan Brown. I've kind of suggested that to all these guys. And it'll be a lot of fun. So we'll have a lot of contestants. I'll be the MC in that case. But thanks a lot for hanging out. Thanks for the fun pre-Fred chat that we had at the beginning of the show. And this is 3 hours, but I don't mind, man. I can talk forever. And we should do a Word Balloon Town Hall meeting at some time. You know, it's something that I've teased on my Patreon page. And we should do that, where at the very least I'll chat with you via the comments and stuff, and see what's on your mind and what do you think of some of the stuff here. So Mario with the podcast reference. Mike Nagan of Reed Industries, the group behind C2E2 and New York Comic Con, received a Jazzy Jeff air freshener, and thought it was from our friend Mike Campoboso, but it wasn't, and he doesn't know why, and he really needs to get to the bottom of that. I think it is the most worthless subject that we discuss on the podcast, and it's like, get over it and move on until you have a solution. This is not, the Sam Shepard great mystery or John Benet Ramsey that needs to be solved. Get over it, Mike, and also fix your damn lights and get a goddamn microphone. All right, that's it. As always, guys and women, thank you very much for watching. I end every show the same way. As you know, stay safe,